Father. Kuina's eyes lit up, looking at the people coming in the corridor. Full of sternness and earnestness, she bowed and said loudly, I want to learn swordsmanship from Mr. Wilhelm, please allow me. His eyes were full of anticipation. I hope to get my father's permission. And Koshiro, who wears glasses and has a serious expression, is completely different from his usual smiling appearance. Looking at Kuina, who was looking forward to it but also a little apprehensive, afraid that he would refuse, he looked at Wilhelm in front of him again, and he sighed softly. It seems that I can't refuse. He who pays attention to Shi Jing Bao, not everything is known about Wilhelm's abilities. It has long been clear, whether it is the opponent's ability to appear and disappear, or the terrifyingly powerful strength. If he is really determined to take Kuina away, he has no room to refuse. Your Excellency Wilhelm, fight with me. Koshiro looked straight at Wilhelm, full of fighting spirit. Compared with the introverted and peaceful past, he is a different person. Like a famous knife out of its sheath, its sharpness is exposed. If you win, I agree that Kuina will leave with you. Father. Kuina was full of shock. At this moment, Shimotsuki Koshiro no longer deliberately suppressed his aura. People can't help but tremble and dare not face it directly. She couldn't believe it. The ancestor of your Shimotsuki clan, the dragon-slaying warrior, Ryoma, is best at drawing swords. It is said that he often cuts down his opponent in a flash and ends the battle. Wilhelm shrugged, and said indifferently, I don't want to cause too much damage to this island, so let's win or lose. It is good. Koshiro nodded. Kuina, you wait here, we'll be back soon. Patting Kuina's small head, Wilhelm said with a gentle look and a smile. The next moment, waiting for Kuina to respond. Whether it's Wilhelm or Koshiro, all are activated with the ability to transfer fruits. Instantly disappeared in front of Kuina, a field of green grass. Both Koshiro and Wilhelm were there. Transfer fruit? It's a terrible ability. Koshiro felt that he had come here, completely unable to resist, and felt a little emotional. To this day, since Rob Lucci, the CP9 reserve member undercover, was in the Big Mom pirate group, although he withdrew decisively before being exposed, he still spied some important information. Combined with the battle report of the surviving generals of the expedition fleet, the world government already knew the name of Wilhelm's Paramecia transfer fruit ability and related abilities. And its ability to transfer fruits was published on its reward order as a warning. So, Koshiro knew nothing about Wilhelm's unstoppable ability. Come on. An ordinary samurai sword, photographed by Wilhelm. And on Koshiro's waist, there is the word of Hedao, which ranks among the 21st knives of the great Kuaisao. Then, offended, Koshiro looked awe-inspiring. The observation haki is wide open, staring directly at Wilhelm. Holding the handle of the knife tightly in the right hand, the amazing armament haki swirls out. Brush. The next moment, both he and Wilhelm moved in an instant. Shut. Wilhelm's eyes were so sharp that people dare not look directly at them. That silver-white figure was as fast as thunder and lightning. In an instant, it has already crossed a distance of several meters like a ghost. Appeared behind Koshiro. Put away the knife and stand. And Koshiro is holding the Wadaichi character that has been unsheathed at some time and wrapped around armament haki. Standing there quietly, motionless. The martial arts uniform on the chest. I don't know when it has been torn apart, but there is no trace of blood. And Wilhelm stood there calmly, unscathed. Your Excellency Wilhelm's sword skills are truly terrifying. Haki, who was covered with blades dispersed, looked down at his aching chest. Koshiro smiled wryly. I'm convinced. He is confident that even if he faces other amazing swordsmen, he may not lose, at least he won't lose so quickly. But Wilhelm is an exception. It seems to be the same as his ancestor Ryoma. The knife-drawing technique has been cultivated to ultimate by him. Coupled with that ghostly, lightning-fast speed, which is completely invisible to the naked eye. Ordinary swordsmen simply don't have the qualifications to fight against them. The winner can be determined in an instant, if it weren't for Wilhelm just showing mercy. Even if he didn't die, he was already seriously injured. The next moment, two figures flashed past. Wilhelm and Koshiro have returned to the dojo. Appearing in front of Kuina, she couldn't believe it. Father, Mr. Wilhelm. Seeing the two come back so soon. Fearing that Wilhelm and Koshiro were really facing each other, and Kuina was just relieved, her eyes widened. Staring blankly at his father Koshiro's martial arts uniform with a hole in his chest, he was full of astonishment. Father, your clothes. Well, Your Excellency Wilhelm's swordsmanship is superb, and he bows down to his father. Putting the words of Hedao back into the sheath, Koshiro admitted defeat frankly. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Kuina. Touching Kuina's head, Wilhelm said to Koshiro with a complex expression, also, it's easy for me to break her constraints of being a woman. As for whether to become a pirate or not, let her grow up to choose herself. If you want to break the constraints that women are inferior to men in innate physical strength and strength, apart from some special and rare paramecia abilities, the most easy to obtain is undoubtedly Zone's devil fruit ability. He really didn't want to give Kuina the common Zone devil fruit, not even the rare ancient species Wilhelm. As for the abilities of phantom beasts, he has other great uses, and he doesn't want to just consume them like this. But it doesn't mean. Among the big mom pirates, there is no ability suitable for Kuina. For Kuina, it only needs the ability of an artificial phantom beast. Even if it might not be able to perfectly display the power of the artificial phantom beast in dragon form like Yamato because of the blood relationship with Kaido of the beasts, it doesn't matter. Her own talent is enough to support her to reach a higher peak. Then from now on, my little girl will ask you to take care of me. Koshiro sighed softly. There he bowed solemnly to Wilhelm. Although I don't want Kuina to become a pirate. But now that Wilhelm has said so, he has no reason to stop. Half a month later, a tired Shimotsuki Kozaburo. Bringing a few famous knives including Kong Yuna and Baiyu, he returned to Yixin Dojo. Ahem. Your Excellency Wilhelm, fortunately you fulfilled your mission. His eyes were bloodshot and his complexion was a little pale. He obviously spent a lot of energy and effort, which made Shimotsuki Koshiro next to him a little worried. The famous knives such as Kong Yuna and Baiyu were returned to Wilhelm, Armand, Custard and other women one by one. Where, it's really sharp. It feels a little different from before. They picked out their favorite knives one after another. For a moment, the living room was shimmering with cold light, and the temperature seemed to have dropped by a lot in an instant. Armand, Custard, Strawn, Sneyman and the others had sharp eyes, and they couldn't help being a little surprised. Seeing that the love knife is indeed sharper than before, I can't help but smile. Unspeakable satisfaction. Then, they all looked at the unsheathed Kong Yuna in Wilhelm's hand. Even Shimotsuki Koshiro is no exception, with burning eyes. Lang. The scarlet and strange brilliance made people squint their eyes, and some couldn't look directly at it. The gorgeous blade unsheathed. A smack of cold light made people's hairs stand on end. The unbelievably sharp aura makes one feel as if the skin is about to be split when looking directly at it, the scalp is inexplicably numb, and goosebumps are about to gush out. Armand, Custard and other women stared at each other intently. Almost unanimously, they blurted out, "What a sharp knife." And Yamato, Hancock, Garrett and the others couldn't help but their eyes lit up, full of amazement. Kong Yuna after the opening, is really good. A thin, invisible hair fell and passed across the blade. It was cut in half by the extremely sharp Kong Yuna in an instant, and fell down. Putting the incomparably gorgeous Kong Yuna back into its sheath, Wilhelm smiled. "Thank you very much, Mr. Kozaburo." Brush. He hooked his finger. A pile of dazzling gold jewels appeared in the room. Kuina on the side was a little dumbfounded. Although she doesn't have much concept of money, it is completely conceivable that this must be a huge fortune. "This is my whole heart, please don't refuse." This return is what Shimotsuki Kozaburo deserves. He could feel that the vitality in the opponent's body was about to be exhausted, and he was afraid that he would not be able to live for long. Over the past few days, he has clearly sensed the restlessness of Yamanaka Kong Yuna behind Simojoji village several times, and every time he releases a wisp of his own breath to frighten it. The incomparably evil Keeksing sword and the famous demon sword first generation Gush, plus several other famous knives that can be ranked among the top 20 knives of the great Kuaisao are perfectly integrated. Kong Yuna is no longer an ordinary demon sword. It can be said that Kozaburo paid a huge price for this knife. Where, to be able to make a sharp start for such a knife, ahem, this old man will have no regrets in this life. His face was unnaturally pale, and Kozaburo, who was in poor condition, couldn't help coughing, waved his hands there and said, "Ahem, as for those treasures, please take them back." "Your Excellency Wilhelm, my father is such a person. If he is not willing to do it, even if he threatens it with his life, he will not agree," Koshiro said with a smile, "but if he wants to, he is willing to take nothing." But in the eyes of his father Shimotsuki Kozaburo, there was a flash of worry that could not be concealed. Kozaburo, who is already aged, must have spent a lot of energy for that Kong Yuna. "Well, if you need anything, feel free to ask." Wilhelm glanced at himself and nodded sternly. Koshiro, who had the same attitude as Koshiro, no longer insisted. Transfer those treasures back to the Ark Proverbs. Ahem. Koshiro has already told me, Sir Wilhelm, you have accepted Kuina as your disciple. Kozaburo touched Kuina's head, his eyes were full of love, and he said to Wilhelm with a light smile, I don't have any big demands, I just hope that you can take good care of her. Although the identity of the other party is a pirate. But to be able to learn from such a young great swordsman with a bright future, for Kuina who is determined to become a swordsman. Undoubtedly her luck, it's only natural. Half a day later. In the farewell of Kuina's mother, Kozaburo, Koshiro father and son and others. Kuina, who followed Wilhelm and others, waved his hands reluctantly. The huge ark flew away into the distance. And after Wilhelm and others left the island, the sky became smaller and smaller from the sea. Shimotsuki Kosaburo couldn't hold on anymore. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. An abnormal flush flashed across his face, and he vomited blood profusely. Father. Mr. Kozaburo. Grandpa, are you okay? Koshiro, his wife, and the apprentices couldn't help but change their expressions. It's unbelievable. Koshiro, with sharp eyesight and quick hands, hurriedly supported his father. Ahem. I'm fine. Kosaburo looked at the distant ark, his eyes dim. That knife is too demonic, too evil, too fierce. And there is only one like that. Only men can subdue it. His face was pale, with deep fatigue in his eyes, and he said with lingering fear, in the process of fighting for it, I almost lost my mind and was controlled by it. What? Shimotsuki Koshiro's pupils shrank. Turned pale with shock, some couldn't believe it. Although his father put too much energy on the skill of casting knives, his attainments in swordsmanship are not too strong. But it's also real, mastering emission haki, a powerful swordsman, and a real Takeda from Wano-kuni. Such a character, no matter how careless he is, his tenacity and indomitable will are not comparable to ordinary strong people, and he was almost controlled by a knife? That's not an ordinary supreme sharp knife, it already has a real spirit. Kosaburo said with a solemn expression. His withered and yellow face was unusually pale. Bloodline wiped the corner of his mouth. If Sir Wilhelm, the owner of Kong Yuna, was not here, during this period, he sensed abnormal situations, releasing his own breath to calm it down. I'm afraid I would have been it takes control. Although he would not die like this, but these days it took him too much effort to start the front of Kong Yuna's unprecedented demon sword. At least, 10 years off your life. There are not many days to live. The scene that happened in Seymour Juji village. Naturally it was impossible to hide it from Wilhelm, but he didn't tell Kuina. Lest the other party worry. Wilhelm kept his eyes on the ship. Some imp with short green hair. How could he ignore a guy who has the talent to be a great swordsman, even more than Kuina? Therefore, when he left Seymour Juji village, he was brought up without any hassle. 3-year-old Roranoa Zoro scratched his head in a silly way. Looking around in confusion. Why am I here? Whether it was Armand or Custard, they all froze each other in surprise. Wilhelm. What did you bring him here for? Sneyman said helplessly, our place is almost becoming a shelter for children. Don't worry about he won't travel with us all the time, and send them to the waters of Toto land after a while. Wilhelm shrugged. He doesn't care about the Straw Hat Pirates, as long as they can be used by him, they will be kept. If it can't be used by him, do you want to save it for Chinese New Year to treat him to dumplings? Little ghost, do you want to become stronger? Wilhelm came over. And as his disciple, Kuina is very well behaved. Like a little follower, he followed behind step by step. He looked down at Roranoa Zoro, and Kuina behind him was also a little curious. The other party is somewhat familiar to her, seems to be a child from the village, right? Become stronger? Roranoa Zoro's eyes lit up. He looked at the unbelievably handsome silver-haired big brother in front of him, and asked stupidly, how strong can it become? Lang. Kong Yun's extremely sharp teeth came out of their sheaths, and the cold light was dazzling. Let Zoro and Kuina and others can't help but close their eyes subconsciously. It took a long time to open, and present it in front of them. It is a sliced sea, infinitely vast. It's like a huge, bottomless trench lying there. It was indescribably shocking, so strong. Kuina behind Wilhelm couldn't help but stare. Full of shock, some couldn't believe it looking at the cut sea. Because neither her father Koshiro nor her grandfather Kozaburo had ever shown such amazing sword skills in front of her. Her little face was flushed, full of excitement, and she murmured, is this the real great swordsman? And Zoro, who is 2 years younger than Kuina, is only 3 years old. The soul is even more shocking. Staring blankly at the split sea. Probably, almost. That's how strong it is. Wilhelm shrugged. Gorgeous cluster of cloud teeth sheathed. After the opening, it is extremely smooth. Just a light swing of the knife can split the sea more easily. I want to be stronger. The young Zoro has bright eyes and is busy raising his little hands. Such a powerful force was something he had never seen before. Stronger than all swordsmen. Then stay here and study hard. Wilhelm bent down and stroked his head. Sooner or later, you will become stronger. Thump. Teacher, I am Roronoa Zoro. The little figure knelt there, about to kowtow to Wilhelm. But was blocked. Is that Roronoa Zoro? Looking at Zoro, who was grabbed by his collar and lifted his limbs, Wilhelm said, I won't accept you as an apprentice, but I will introduce you to a more suitable teacher. Is he as strong as you? Asked Zoro, carried by Wilhelm. Wilhelm didn't respond positively, but was there to persuade. That's a legendary warrior. A man who can kill even flying dragons in the sky. If you miss it, you won't have a chance. The swordsman Ryoma, who has all the memory, experience, vision, and inheritance of Shimotsuki Ryoma, is obviously more than enough to teach Roronoa Zoro. Really? That would be great. Zoro nodded happily. Kuina. Being precocious, she has already guessed who Wilhelm is going to introduce to Zoro as a teacher. It is said that he is a descendant of dragon-slaying warrior, Shimotsuki Ryoma, named after his ancestor Shimotsuki Ryoma, determined to become a strong swordsman, and is closely related to their branch. Snarman asked, So Wilhelm, where do we go next? Wilhelm chuckled. Kingdom of Goa. He looked at Kuina and Zoro. But before that, I need to do one more thing. And Armand, Custard and others all understand. Sure enough, 10 minutes later. Roronoa Zoro, who suddenly grew 10 years old and turned into a 13-year-old boy. Thrown on deck by Wilhelm. It's really changed. Great, I've grown up. Haha. Zoro, whose mind is only 3 years old, was jumping and jumping there, amazed at the same time, even more overjoyed. And the next moment, Kuina had disappeared on deck. Unbelievable. For a moment, Kuina looked in the mirror in disbelief, and in the blink of an eye, she had turned into her 15-year-old self. With short hair, although he is only 15 years old, he already has a tall figure of 1.7 meters. Even the body that has begun to develop is so stalwart. Teacher, in front of Wilhelm. Kuina's pretty face was rosy. Wilhelm looked at it calmly and nodded in satisfaction. He handed her a dress that had already been prepared. The silver-white figure disappeared. 3 minutes later. A pretty red-faced, shy girl with short hair appeared on the training ground. The heroic spirit emanating from the eyebrows. Let's Strawn, Sneyman and the others praise them endlessly. Because you are too young, your body is far from developed. Wilhelm looked at Kuina, who was standing upright with his head held high, and Zoro, who was looking around like a monkey, and said directly, I directly use Devil Fruit's ability. Let you grow up for 10 years and shorten the time for you to become stronger. At this time, if you lay a solid foundation, it will not be too late. He said lightly. Of course, it's too late to regret after getting on the pirate ship. This kind of growth is irreversible, which means you can't go back to the past. Starting today, I will strictly train you and build the foundation for you. As for how far you can reach in the future, it depends on your personal talent and hard work, as well as the fate of your life. Kingdom of Goa. Spotless and reputed to be the most beautiful country in the East Blue. Of course, this simply refers to the capital of the country. Within the scope of its rule, the large and small villages are no different from other villages in East Blue. A flying ship? Pirate flag? Are they pirates? That's too bad that guy Garp isn't here. I seem to have read in the newspaper that this is the ship of the Big Mom pirates. What? Is it to seek revenge? Damn it, it's this time. A huge ark came across the sky and docked above the Windmill village. It instantly attracted the attention of many local villagers, all of whom looked at the ark floating high in the sky with some shock, anxiety. Some residents who often pay attention to the newspaper because there is a marine hero here, even recognized the proverbs of the ark. For a while, some panicked. Swipe. Huge and special observation hockey. It directly covers the Windmill village and even the farther Mount Corpo. Even Gaujon, the capital of the king, dozens of miles away. Under the surprised eyes of Armand, Snarman, Custard and others. And on the prow of the ark. In an instant, 2, 3 and 4-year-old little ghosts appeared. One has blonde hair and wears noble clothes. One has black hair and has some pockmarks on his face. They all looked around blankly, but I haven't had time to say anything yet. Inexplicably, his eyes turned white, and he passed out. Woo-hoo-hoo. The sky was overcast. Dark clouds, lightning and thunder. Seeing. There is going to be a downpour. Hey. The eye-catching blue light is so dazzling that people can't look directly at it. In the shocking eyes of Zoro, Kuina, Yamato, Hancock and the others, as well as the villagers of Windmill Village. A huge slash shot out from the top of the arc. Straight to the sky. Boom. It's like destroying Duel. The dark cloud layer was ruthlessly split into two halves. Bunches of bright sunlight shine down from the dark clouds. It was indescribably shocking. Circles. Gollum. The cloud is split in two. Is this really something humans can do? And the villagers in the Windmill Village. They all couldn't help but widen their eyes, full of sluggishness. A little horrified, I just felt cold, my scalp was numb, and I was shivering. Let's go. The gorgeous blade sheathed. Wilhelm glanced intentionally or unintentionally at the sky that was beginning to clear. He glanced at the port of Windmill Village again, and was hugged by a handsome girl with green hair, and a baby with short black hair who was babbling. Monkey D. Luffy. Chuckled lightly, without any intention of staying. He directly steered the arc and headed for the distance. Woohoo! A rooftop in Windmill Village. An invisible hurricane blows past. A figure in a green robe appeared there. Have you left? Monkey D. Dorag, who has a hideous tattoo on his left face and looks resolute, looked at the departing arc with some doubts in his eyes. In the beginning, he manipulated the weather. Although he did deliberately reveal a little breath, intending to frighten the opponent. But I didn't expect Charlotte Wilhelm to leave so simply. But that's good too, at this stage, he doesn't want to conflict with the Big Mom pirates. Moreover, Tarag can feel it. The 22nd son of the Charlotte family. The trembling noble son is indeed a rather terrifying monster, giving him an extremely dangerous feeling. That knife is definitely a slash that only a true great swordsman can wield. The great swordsman, who is less than 17 years old, is really a monster. Looking at the two imps who were brought up by Wilhelm, they didn't know their identities. Armand was smoking a cigarette, and asked a little puzzled. Why did you leave again? Didn't you stay there? You just split the dark clouds, it doesn't seem like a random act. Custard was also a little curious. Is there any enemy? No way, the troublesome guy is there, and there is another more troublesome guy rushing over. Wilhelm shrugged. His huge observation hockey didn't just sense the future leader of the Revolutionary Army. And that marine hero, Garp. He was rushing towards the Windmill Village without stopping. Obviously, they heard the news that he was near the East Blue Goa Kingdom. Came back across the calm belt for the first time. Although he is not afraid, there is no need to directly conflict with them. Especially, if Garp knew that he had directly taken Pottercast D. Ace, son of One Piece Roger. This guy is afraid that he will go crazy, but if these two guys are not there. At the beginning, he planned to take away the future Pirate King Luffy. But it doesn't matter. Left and right are just whim. It really angered the two father and son of the monkey family, forcing the two monsters to pursue and entangle like mad dogs. On the contrary, it may affect your next plan. And this ours. Mount Kolpo not far from the Windmill Village. Den of Thieves, Dayton's family. It's not good, boss, that guy Ace suddenly disappeared. A bandit yelled in horror at the obese bandit leader Maibe who was sleeping there. What? Dayton, who was awakened, changed his face greatly. Why don't you go find it soon? If Garp finds out, we'll lose his grandson and we'll be killed. Think of the terror of that marine hero. She was sweating and shivering a little. At the same time, the capital of the Kingdom of Goa. It is spotless, and only nobles can live in the high town here. In a luxuriously decorated private villa. An aristocratic woman with heavy makeup shouted in a panic. My child's father, Sabo, is gone. What? A well-dressed aristocratic man wearing a tall hat turned pale with shock. He grabbed his wife's shoulders and asked anxiously, what's going on? Well, why did Sabo disappear? I don't know either. I was helping him with his homework, but who knew that he suddenly disappeared from my eyes? Are you talking in your sleep? Are you kidding me? What are the origins of these two brats? I glanced at Kuina and Roronoa Zoro who were sweating profusely on the training ground. Snarman looked at the two unconscious kids who were only about 3 or 4 years old. It's worth your special trip to come here. She already had a deep understanding of Wilhelm's vicious eyes. As long as he is fancy, the aptitude will not be bad. Either they have amazing potential, or they have special abilities. Armand, Strawn, and Custard on the side were also a little curious. The one with blonde hair is the son of a certain nobleman in Goa Kingdom, but he has good potential. Wilhelm didn't mean to hide anything, and said directly indifferently, the one with the black hair is the righteous grandson of the marine hero Garp, who turned into the son of the pirate king Roger, Potter Cass D. Ace, or Gore D. Ace. What? Grandson of the hero Garp? One Piece Roger's son. As this? Are you kidding me? Heard the words. Yasho, Aleb, Armand, Strawn, Sneyman, and Custard all looked at Ace, who was sleeping soundly there, in disbelief. I can't believe it, but this is Roger's son, who was adopted by marine hero Garp. Back then, because Roger was terminally ill, he surrendered himself to Marine, and entrusted his unborn son to Garp, who had formed a friendship with him in battle after battle, and had a little sympathy with each other. Wilhelm said very calmly, and his wife, Potter Cass D. Rouge, is also a tough woman, and actually checked the pregnant women and babies born during that period in the Marine and World government, so as to prevent their blood from continuing. Whenever possible, Shang let the babies stay in his womb for 20 months. 1 year and 3 months after One Piece Roger was publicly executed, this baby who inherited the blood of the devil was born, and Potter Cass D. Rouge also died of exhaustion on the spot because he ran out of life. Garp, the marine hero, secretly adopted this kid, and handed him over to Sean Wucha, who seemed to be let go by him once. Hiss. Incredible. Is this the greatness of maternal love? It's amazing. Armand, Snarman, Aleb, Custard and other women couldn't help being shocked and awe-inspiring to that Potter Cass Rouge. Regardless of the position, first of all, as a woman, she is definitely a great mother. As for the son of One Piece King Roger, who inherited the devil's blood, he is not a simple person. Maybe, another little monster with terrifying potential. Immediately afterwards, Armand, Sneyman, and the girls of Custard felt a blur in front of their eyes. Wilhelm led them all into the hall. Without procrastination, take advantage of the capabilities of Paramecia ripe fruit. It directly turned the unconscious Ace and Sabo into 14-year-old boys. All of a sudden let them grow 10 years old. Brush. Wilhelm hands. A green leaf appeared. Throw it lightly in front of you. The smoke filled the air, and Shinobi's beautiful figure appeared there. Revise their memories. Wilhelm, who was sitting on the sofa, directly ordered, Shao Ren, delete all useless memories, and implant them with parents whose parents are ordinary New World pirates, but unfortunately died in the hands of Marine in the battle. Rescued by me who was passing by, the memory that I focused on cultivating under my command. What is the identity of the son of One Piece? For Wilhelm, there was no appeal at all. What he is interested in is only the other party's potential, nothing more. Yes. Memory fruit. What a terrifying ability. Can quietly edit and tamper with other people's memories. Although Custard and the others were surprised, they didn't feel anything. It was Paramecia memory fruit's ability that made them a little amazed. In particular, watching Shao Ren pull out a series of films from the brains of Sabo and Ace with the ability of memory fruit, and constantly modify and cut the memories of Sabo and Ace. Some inexplicable scalp numbness. I can't help but rejoice that Wilhelm is not the enemy. Otherwise, I would never know when the memory was tampered with or secretly manipulated. And this time, Goa Kingdom, Windmill Village. On the bow of a ship is a statue of a dog with a bone in its mouth. The majestic marine battleship is approaching slowly. That's Marine's warship. No mistake, it's Mr. Garp's ship. Vice Admiral Garp is back. Up and down the Windmill Village. Recognizing the warship approaching the port, it was the ship of the marine hero Garp. The apprehensive people burst into bursts of cheers, full of excitement and joy. Whoa ha ha ha. Garp was fast. Stepping on the moonwalk, I rushed directly to the coast. I'm back, folks. Are you all okay? Makino, the village chief. Daughter, you all right? Garp, who was always worried, looked at the head of the village chief and the green-haired girl who was holding a baby, and couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. There, he teases little Luffy, who is held by the green-haired girl Makino. Garp, a flying pirate ship came here just now. At that time, a sudden rainstorm was coming. I don't know why, on that ship, a dazzling blue light suddenly split the dark clouds in the sky, and then they directly left. Recalling the shocking scene just now, the village chief said in a deep voice. Okay. Garp's pupils shrank sharply. Did that kid stop him? Ha 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 ha. No matter what, it's good that everyone is fine. But 2 hours later, on Mount Corpo, Garp refused to be accompanied by any of his subordinates and came here alone. Looking at the trembling and panic-stricken Dayton family kneeling in front of them. What? You mean Ace suddenly disappeared? Yes, Mr. Garp, we were obviously watching him playing in the room, but he just disappeared from our eyes suddenly and inexplicably. A bandit tremblingly said dejectedly. We searched all around, even if we didn't find Ace's whereabouts. Damn. Could it be? Garp's complexion changed drastically. Trembling with anger, startled and angry. I thought of the flying ark that suddenly came to the offshore of Windmill village before, but there was no landing. Think of that Charlotte Wilhelm's ability to be invisible. Where can't you guess? Charlotte Wilhelm. You bastard. Half a day later. Uncharted waters. On a pirate ship that happened to meet, there was no confrontation. In an instant, the pirate above was directly thrown into the distant sea by Wilhelm. As for Zoro, who had just finished training and rested profusely in sweat, and Ace and Sabo, who had been brainwashed by Wilhelm using the ability of Paramecia memory fruit, and became Wilhelm's subordinates, they were directly transferred to the pirate ship by Wilhelm. That is, in Zoro's astonished eyes. A deformed leaf was thrown out. Boom, the smoke filled the room. The wild figure of the Golden Lion appeared there. Handing a direction guiding life card to the Golden Lion, Wilhelm directly ordered, send them all to the Toto Land Sea area of New World according to the guidance of this life card. Gia ha ha ha, I understand. Golden Lion taps the pirate ship with his right hand, Lion Majesty. The entire pirate ship broke away from the sea and flew up. Zoro, follow him next. Wilhelm tapped Zoro's head and said, at that time, you can meet the fencing teacher I'm looking for you. Really? Great. Zoro, who looks 13 years old but is only 3 years old mentally, can't help but shine brightly. For Wilhelm, who can split mountains and seas, and even split the clouds in the sky, that exaggeratedly strong power makes him full of yearning. I can't wait anymore. I want to meet my teacher and learn advanced swordsmanship as soon as possible. You too. Follow them back to the Toto Land waters first, and Smoothie will arrange someone to guide you in your practice. Wilhelm looked at the 14-year-old appearance, and also clenched his fists, looking at himself full of expectation. Sabo and Ace, 2 people. Yes, Master Wilhelm. It is obvious that he does not need to do things like teach the 3 little devils himself. It is enough to have Sakamuni, Miyamoto Musashi, and swordsman Ryoma. Even Wilhelm has to admit that he is a bit patriarchal. At least, whether it is Hancock or Kuina, he is willing to stay by his side and teach himself. But for Zoro, Ace, and Sabo, they directly acted as shopkeepers. Gee ha ha ha. It didn't take long, with Golden Lion's signature laugh. Under the watchful eyes of Wilhelm, Armand, Sneyman, Strom, Castard and others. The not-so-big pirate ship was filled with enough food and flew towards New World with Zoro, Sabo, and Ace. Above the ark, Wilhelm seemed to sense something. Looking at the sea behind. What's the matter, Wilhelm? Castard asked. Someone who doesn't know what to do is chasing him, Wilhelm chuckled. Is it the hero Garp or the Dorag who was once known as the Marine General? Armand was surprised and couldn't help asking. It's Iron Fist, Garp. Wilhelm shrugged, and said directly, you guys go first, I'll play with him by the way. In his eyes, there was a fiery fighting spirit. A little eager to try. He also wants to borrow this famous name, and with the death of the Admiral of Headquarters Buddha Sengoku, it can already be said that the Marine hero, Iron Fist, Kakua with the highest combat power in Naval Headquarters. Verify your current hard power. Are you qualified to fight against those top powerhouses in the sea? Then Wilhelm, you have to be careful, Sneyman said helplessly. They were not worried about Wilhelm's own safety. Today's Wilhelm is not what he was when he was a fledgling. Even if he is no match for that very famous Marine hero, he won't be easily defeated by the opponent. No one can stay and force this trembling nobleman. Rest assured. Wilhelm chuckled, full of confidence. This piece of sea. If he wants to leave, no one can force him to stay. Swipe. With a flash of his figure, he swept into the distance. Because, the sea is vast, and Garp has no guidance such as a lifeguard. Although it is possible to catch up with the general direction of the ark's proverbs when they left according to the villager's memory. But considering Garp's importance to Roger's son Potter Cass D. Ace, the grandson of One Piece. In order to prevent the future leader of the Revolutionary Army, Drago, from intervening, Wilhelm was very prepared for the 2 father and son in advance, and had already deliberately manipulated the arc to shift its original position, so as not to be entangled. Garp was still going in the wrong direction, deviated by tens of nautical miles. Swipe, brush. The silver-white figure kept flickering. With the huge observation hockey, the location of Monkey D. Garp was locked. It didn't take long for Wilhelm to be right in front of him. The ability of the 10 rings was activated, and an astonishing yellow energy surged out. The boiling sea instantly condensed into ice, and it continued to spread in all directions. In a blink of an eye, the entire sea surface had turned into an extremely thick layer of ice. A burly figure was running towards the moonwalk. It's just unbelievable, Charlotte Wilhelm noticed that the sea froze instantly. Seeing the young figure suddenly appearing in front of him, Garp was furious and his eyes were tearing apart. I am like a brother and have a deep friendship with Sengoku, the comrade in arms Buddha, and I admire him very much, thinking that the other party will definitely become Marine's future admirals Aokiji. Their deaths are inseparable from the people in front of them. Now, it's even more despicable to grab his grandson Ace. The Marine hero was really pissed off. A strong murderous intent was born. There was a bang, the tall figure stepped heavily on the ice. The thick ice surface was shaken and cracked. You kidnapped the old man's grandson Ace, right? Where is he? Garp's face was livid, and he asked through gritted teeth. Are you referring to the blood of the One Piece King Roger? It is true that I took him away. With long silver hair fluttering around, Wilhelm calmed down and said lightly, however, I didn't expect that a dignified marine hero would be such a pious person. It really opened my eyes. You really know. Eyes fixed on Wilhelm. Garp's complexion changed, and his heart sank to the bottom of the valley. Although he doesn't know, where did the Big Mom pirates get the news? But there is no doubt that the opponent is targeting Ace. There used to be countless pregnant women and children on South Blue Basilia Island, who died innocently and tragically because of Roger, the One Piece. Wilhelm looked directly at the hero Garp, and his tone was full of sarcasm. And you, the so-called marine hero, not only turned a blind eye to those innocent lives, but also secretly hid the children of Pirate King Roger, even to avoid attracting the attention of the world government, and deliberately hid him in the bandit den. He is extremely disdainful of this self-proclaimed marine hero. It's not because Garp adopted the son of Roger, the Pirate King. It means that the other party's so-called justice is nothing but self-deception justice. If the other party really believes from the bottom of his heart that young lives are innocent, the crimes committed by the previous generation have nothing to do with his offspring. So how innocent are the lives on Batharilla Island? But this marine hero just sat and watched the world government inhumanely persecute those pregnant women and young children, and did not take any action to stop them. What kind of justice is such an ostrich-like justice? Wilhelm looked at Garp, whose face was livid and extremely ugly, and said playfully, tell me, if I make this news public, what kind of waves will it cause in this sea? Whatever you want, that's your freedom. The tiger's eyes stared at Wilhelm fiercely, his eyes full of murderous intent. Garp clenched his fists tightly, and said decisively, but today you have to hand over Ace to the old man for everything you say. If I don't pay it. Wilhelm looked at the other defiantly. Swipe. The terrifying figure moved in an instant. The marine hero was obviously really angry, and said murderously, then you will die here today. As soon as he came up, his combat power was at full strength, and there was no point in trying to test it. In a split second, huge fists wrapped around high-ranked armament hockey, and even Conqueror's hockey. Filled with endless murderous intent, it has already blasted in front of Wilhelm. Boom. Between electric light and flint. Wilhelm, who seemed to have expected it long ago, also charged up the moment Garp rushed up, and threw his fist at the first time, and blasted out without showing any weakness. I saw that the two fist prints wrapped around armament hockey and Conqueror's hockey didn't touch each other at all. With a distance of 10 to 20 centimeters, they collided brazenly there. Boom. The world changes color. Between the two fists, there seemed to be some invisible barrier, and they were constantly fighting there. Crackling, crackling. Incomparably strong airwaves, accompanied by black and red electric snakes that seemed to materialize, intertwined and entangled there, spreading continuously. Crack. Crack. Woo. The ice layer trembled violently, cracking and collapsing. The violent wind pressure swept countless pieces of ice and raged in all directions. In the sky, the incomparable fear is stirring, making the cloud flow extremely turbulent. It was as if the sky had really split open, presented there. It is extremely shocking. Conqueror's winding. You bastard. Garp's face was serious, his eyes narrowed sharply. Some couldn't believe it, looking at Wilhelm, who was able to fight against his own iron fist in front of him, and didn't lose the wind at all. According to Marine's intelligence, the other party didn't even grasp armament hockey's internal destruction a few months ago, but in just a few months, not only armament hockey has been honed to be extremely tyrannical, but even the Conqueror's entanglement has been mastered. And it was polished quite skillfully, not inferior to him at all. This terrible growth rate, it's just chilling. Surprised, isn't it? With silver hair flying, Wilhelm looked directly at Garp in front of him, and laughed arrogantly there. Then let me be a little more excited. A dignified marine hero, the guy who dared to run around after the One Piece Roger, how could such a strong man not have Conqueror's hockey? Not only did it exist, but it must have been cultivated to an astonishing height. For such a character, it is obviously not too difficult to master the high-level skills of Conqueror's winding. What's more, after years of unremitting training, his strength is comparable to that of a monster, and it is not inferior to him who is born with strange strength. Armament hockey is indeed amazingly strong, much higher than him. It actually made him, who is a natural monster, feel a dull pain in his fist. Stop being so arrogant, you brat. Garp is like electricity. The muscles all over his body were tense, and his momentum was terrifying. The veins of both fists bulged and turned into afterimages. Crazy bombardment. Fist bone meteor shower. However, Wilhelm didn't dodge anything, as if he had seen through all his moves and intentions. Surrounded by an astonishing electric on. Not to be outdone, he continued to punch and attack. There is absolutely no intention of using Paramesh's ability to transfer fruit or the 10 rings. His purpose is to verify his true strength, how far he has reached, and he wants to use the strength of this marine hero to sharpen himself. Unless he was really defeated, Wilhelm didn't plan to use Devil Fruit's ability and 10 rings at all. Bang bang. Bang bang. Woo. The afterimages all over the sky make it impossible to see clearly. The violent wind pressure made it impossible for people to open their eyes. Wilhelm, who collided with Garp fist and head on there, was shaken back by that powerful iron fist. His legs were covered with cracks, and part of the ice collapsed at some point, leaving shocking scratches. Ha ha ha. What a powerful armament hockey. Wilhelm, who flew upside down, was fine and laughed loudly. Both fists were slightly convulsed, burning hot. The opponent's armament hockey is simply too powerful. If it weren't for Impel Down's ability to use the lucky fruit to practice desperately, not only the swordsmanship has reached the realm of the great swordsman, but even the Conqueror's hockey has been honed to a higher level. I'm afraid it's not just some severe pain now. You brat of the Charlotte family, give Ace Hatu a favor. Garp roared and charged. An iron fist of wrath, entwined with high-level armed colors and conquerors. It directly overwhelmed the atmosphere and slammed towards Wilhelm in front of him. Kang. A dazzling cold light flashed. The extremely sharp Kong Yuna directly blocked that terrifying punch. Hey, I've already sent him to New World. Wilhelm grinned his teeth and smiled at Garp. If you have the ability, take my head and exchange it. The sky changed color because of the collision between the two. Red and black lightning, crisscrossing, intertwining and shining like dragons and snakes dancing. Drawn by their aura, two incomparably terrifying clouds squeezed and surged there, refusing to give in to each other. Boom. Clang. Clang. Boom. In the sky, dark clouds billowed. The clouds are raging, squeezing and resisting crazily. It was as if the sky had been torn apart ruthlessly, which was indescribably shocking. The incomparably sharp blade, entwined with Conqueror's hockey and armament hockey, and the huge fist print also entwined with two-color hockey, collided strongly there, confronting each other in the air. The sword energy is vertical and horizontal, and it is extremely terrifying. The ice layer collapsed, and cracks appeared in all directions. One after another huge cut marks, bottomless and shocking. With the collision between Wilhelm and Garp, the crazy writing unfolds. Kang. Extremely sharp blade. Collided with the fist print again. Boom. Woo-hoo-hoo. The ice layer was shaken to collapse and crack. The tooth-piercing golden iron strike sound was deafening. The extremely violent wind pressure, accompanied by billowing airwaves, could not stop spreading and wreaking havoc in all directions. Ha 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 ha. Holding Kong Yuna in his hand, looking directly at Garp in front of him, Wilhelm laughed there. It's not enough, let me be more excited, Garp. There is no purely passive attack. The gorgeous blade was surrounded by dazzling electric lights, and countless afterimages were drawn across the air, attacking crazily. Swing, chop, stab, tease, pick, chop. At the same time, with the powerful observation haki who can listen to the voices of others. Predicting the enemy's opportunity, they often block Garp's offensive and counterattack. The knife is so fierce that it is hard to guard against. After going through Kaifeng, surpassing all the supreme sharp knives, the unimaginably sharp Kong Yuna. Even Garp did not dare to take the lead easily. Shocking scratches were left on his body. It looked ragged and full of embarrassment. However, it wasn't easy for Wilhelm. Under normal conditions, his strength is obviously still a little bit behind such a top monster in the world. Every collision with Garp's iron fist, that is harder than steel. Holding Kong Yuna's tiger's mouth, he couldn't help feeling a little numb. From time to time, he was shocked back by the violent force. Stop being arrogant, ghost. Garp's gaze was serious, and he roared angrily. The muscles all over his body were tense, his huge fists were clenched tightly, and his veins bulged. Struggling to blast out. Clang! Mars splash room. Accompanied by an astonishing wave of air, it surged out. This time, although Wilhelm relies on the powerful observation haki, immediately discerning Garp's intentions, the blade narrowly blocked the opponent's blow. But the whole person was sent flying horizontally by the violent power. Fistbone meteor fire. Furious Garp had no reservations and went all out. Casserole-sized fists, wrapped around Conqueror's haki and armament haki. Huh. Huh. The atmosphere was rubbed violently, and it turned extremely red and burned. Carrying a terrifyingly high temperature, it distorts the atmosphere. His eyes were stern, and a frightening scarlet flashed in his eyes, as if he had foreseen something. His pupils shrank sharply. Fist marks all over the sky, like meteors blasting from outside the sky, crazily blasted towards Wilhelm, who had no ability to use. He caught the flaw and went all out. Clang clang, bang bang. The sound of gold and iron clashing is endless. The terrifying collision, there although most of the fist marks were narrowly blocked by Wilhelm. But there are still scattered fist marks, constantly bombarding him. Boom. The violent shock wave pierced through Wilhelm's monster-like body, tore the gorgeous robe, and made him vomit blood. It flew out like a cannonball, and slammed into the ice hundreds of meters away. The ice surface shook violently. Smoke and dust rose all over the sky. The air waves billowed, and countless ice balls splashed. The large-scale ice layer collapsed directly. Like a spider web of cracks, Wilhelm's whole body is embedded in it. The strength between the two will be judged, even being able to face Sakura head-on with monsters like Garp. But in terms of hard power, Wilhelm, who had just cultivated Conqueror's haki to a high-level not long ago and entered the field of great swordsmen, was obviously still a little weaker. At least, Wilhelm, who didn't even use the moon lion form, let alone activate the ability of Paramecia, transferring fruit, or even the power of the 10 rings, obviously still can't really compete with Garp, who is at the peak of his life, and there is still a big gap. Especially the marine hero who has had his grandson kidnapped and thoroughly mobilized. The Conqueror's entanglement that has been polished to perfection, and the internal damage brought by the high-level armament haki, even a natural monster like Wilhelm is a bit uncomfortable. Sigh, chirp. Inside the smoky ice, the dazzling electric light flashed fiercely. On the chest, there seemed to be no superfluous traces except for the red skin, which fully explained the terrifying defense like a steel balloon that was invulnerable. But Wilhelm wasn't really unscathed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been shocked to vomit blood before. In fact, several ribs have been ruthlessly destroyed from the inside by Garp's monster-like power just now, and shocking cracks appeared. ZZGG. Relying on the innate monster physique, he cooperated with the ultimate life return mystery that he had already mastered. The astonishing electric light constantly stimulated the cell division and regeneration, and the cracks on several ribs and even some damaged organs and tissues around them were restored to their original state. This is the biggest difference between him and Big Mom. Both are born monsters, even if they haven't fully grown up yet. But he already knows how to make full use of his own power and realize his potential. No matter how serious the injury is, even if it doesn't need the power of the 10 rings. He is also able to heal himself directly in the shortest possible time. The only difference is that it takes some energy. Ahem, sure enough, the guy who can fight against Roger, the Pirate King, is really not easy. Wiping bloodline from the corner of his mouth, Wilhelm muttered to himself there. It seems that my hard power is far from that level. There is indeed still some distance. However, that distance is not really unreachable. The corner of his mouth curled up, with an excited smile. His eyes were full of crazy fighting intent. He could feel that, with the observation haki that listens to his heart combined with the ability of Paramecia to transfer the fruit, he can completely react and dodge Garp's attack directly. It's just that, in order to use this marine hero to sharpen himself, he suppressed that impulse for life. The next moment, hey! Cheap! Accompanied by the strong electric light, he jumped up directly. The extremely sharp golden eyes, like a falcon, have already started to turn scarlet and bloodthirsty. The long silver hair kept dancing, and the whole person exuded a terrifying aura like a prehistoric beast. This beast-like breath. In the distance, Garp is running wildly and exits Germany. Is it the moon lion of the fur tribe that Xiaohei mentioned earlier? This guy. His momentum has completely changed. The ice collapsed. Clenching his huge iron fist tightly, Garp stopped in his tracks. He stared fixedly at the silver-white figure rushing out of the smoke and dust, holding the gorgeous and eye-catching Kong Yuna, surrounded by astonishing electric light. His pupils shrank involuntarily. Because, it was different from what Marine Staff Officer Crane told him. At this moment, although Wilhelm's body has swelled a lot, his muscles are bulging, and he has soared to a height of more than 1 meter. But it still retains the characteristics of human beings, and there is no sign of complete animalization. In his impression, the moon lionization of the fur tribe is completely different. Is this what you call moon lionization? With suspicion in his eyes, Garp spoke in a deep voice. Surprised, isn't it? The corners of Wilhelm's mouth curled up. On an unbelievably handsome face, 2 strands of lightning appeared, with some evil and bewildering patterns. The sharp and captivating eyes are extremely scarlet, full of frightening wildness, looking directly at Garp, who is full of surprise in front of him, and said with a sneer, "Thanks to your marine's return of life." However, except that his body has swelled to more than 3 meters in height, and his teeth and nails have become sharper, there are also some subtle changes in some places. There is no other animalistic performance at all. It is completely different from the moon lionization he used when he fought against Akainu and the others in the past. This is the ultimate expression of mastering the meaning of returning life. While maintaining the human appearance, it can still fully stimulate the wild power and terrifying potential in the body. It is a moon lionization that belongs to Wilhelm personally. Not only is it more perfect in appearance, but it also uses the power of returning life to compress and store the excess energy ingested in the cells in the body. It can keep the state of the eyes longer. Life is returned. So that's it. Garp's eyes jerk back. But Humu still stared at Wilhelm firmly, with a murderous look. But until now, you don't seem to have planned to use your devil fruit ability. The voice did not fall. His stature is extremely fast and heavy. Like a ferocious beast coming out of the cage, it rushed directly in front of Wilhelm with awe-inspiring aura. The violent iron fist entangled armament haki and conqueror's haki, and slammed over. No matter how much you underestimate this old man, you have to have a limit, right? But in an instant, scarlet flashed in his eyes. As if foreseeing something, his complexion changed drastically. Had to hastily change the trajectory of punching. Kai, in a split second. Wilhelm's shadow is like a ghost. The dazzling cold light came directly from Garp's right side and slashed along his neck. Between electric light and flint, he hastily withdrew his changed punch. Dangerously blocked the fatal knife. Clang. Almost at the same time, Wilhelm's left fist entangled with electric light, and Garp's black left fist slammed into each other at the same time. Boom. Boom. A large piece of ice was ruthlessly torn apart. Red and black lightning intertwined and spread continuously there. There was a turbulent air current high in the sky, and 2 terrifying auras were constantly pressing and colliding there. Unspeakable shock. Hasty, blocking Garp. The figure shot out like a cannonball. Stepping on the ice, it kept cracking. That guy's haki. Garp's color changed in horror. I only felt a dull pain in my iron fist. Regardless of whether it is speed, strength, responsiveness, etc. or haki, or even all-around combat power, the opponent has gained a huge increase after turning into a moon lion. Compared with before, they are like 2 different people. The next moment, Wilhelm's extremely fast figure was completely invisible to the naked eye. Just like a hurricane, it rushed up with lightning speed. Clang. Clang. 2 figures, completely turned into an afterimage. His shots were as fast as lightning, and he continued to confront each other. Wilhelm, in particular, is too fast to be seen. However, by virtue of his cultivation to ultimate, he can foresee the future observation haki. Garp was unruffled and unafraid in the face of danger. He kept blocking and facing the blades that continued to attack violently, and from time to time, not to be outdone, he fought back strongly. The two of you at this moment, almost evenly matched. The tip of the needle is against the on of wheat, and there is no room for each other. Fistbone meteor fire. Fist marks all over the sky rubbed against the atmosphere violently. It became extremely red and burned up, entwined with the mighty armament hockey and conqueror's hockey. The raging flames covered the sky and covered the earth, bombarding them indiscriminately. Thousand Slice Valley. Wilhelm is also not to be outdone. The magnificent blade turned into an afterimage. It seems that it is not fast or slow, but it is actually approaching ultimate, and it is waving out. This is a move created by borrowing from Golden Lion's swordsmanship. Therefore, he did not deliberately change the name, and still used the name of Thousand Slice Valley from Golden Lion. But there are subtle differences between the two. Thousands of dark blue slashes illuminated the sky, constantly tearing apart the atmosphere, violently colliding with the violent fist prints one after another. Boom boom boom. Woo. A whole piece of ice. It was bombed to pieces, and it was a mess. Wilhelm's figure, as fast as lightning, rushed into the sky. On the gorgeous blade, dark red lightning intertwined and lingered. A violent slash, lighting up the tower with. Carrying high-level conquerors in armed colors, it changes the color of the world and strikes fiercely. One sword-style Kanglongpo. Roar. The lightning flashes, an incomparably dazzling blue dragon. In addition to the blue lightning, there are also amazing black lightning and red lightning intertwined and shining. The momentum is terrifying. It is entrenched there, with teeth and claws, lifelike and mighty. Like a roar of thunder, it rushed out like lightning. It seems to tear everything apart and is unstoppable. Fistbone Tyrant Tiger. Garp's momentum was terrifying. Muscles all over his body were tense and kept moving. Stacks of fists wrapped around Conqueror's hockey and armament hockey. The frightening aura that materialized actually distorted the atmosphere, forming an astonishing shockwave that blasted straight out. It is quite similar to the Six Kings Spear in 6 styles. But there is a world of difference in power between the two. Garp's Tyrant is undoubtedly stronger, far superior to the Six Kings Spear. Roar. I saw the terrifying shockwave, and it turned into a huge tiger in a blink of an eye. It raised its head to the sky and roared loudly, as if it could make all animals panic. Ferocious and unstoppable, he bumped into the roaring blue dragon. Crazy biting and fighting there. Enter the dragon. Boom. Boom. Clang clang. Boom boom. Woo. In unknown seas. Loud noises continued, and the ice surface shook violently. The fierce battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Fighting to the death, the two clashed crazily, and it was hard to tell the winner. There are no worthless people under the famous name. The heroes Garp and Conqueror's hockey, who are at their peak, have all cultivated to incredible heights. Whether it is hockey's quality and quantity, or exaggerated physical strength, they are all surprisingly abundant. The strength is indeed terrifyingly strong. Even Wilhelm in perfect Moon Leo state. Without using the ability to transfer fruit, there is no way to win the opponent. They can only compete with each other evenly. And this extremely shocking fierce duel. 3 days ago, Impy's adjutant led people to follow the guidance of Garp's own lifecard. The news was sent back to naval headquarters, which also shocked the marine executives and even the world government executives. No one expected that Charlotte Wilhelm's strength had risen to such a level in a short period of time that she was able to confront the hero Garp head-on. Even, because Naval Headquarters Marshal Kong and Admiral's substitute Akainu were in the first half of the Grand Line, they couldn't come over in a short time, and they couldn't get away. Naval Headquarters is currently unavailable. Worried about accidents, the world government had already dispatched the trump card of the CPO as soon as possible to rush over for reinforcements. But it didn't arrive so soon after all. Boom. The furious fist print carries great power. Vigorously rubbing against the atmosphere, it became extremely red. It slammed on Wilhelm, who was caught off guard because he had been transformed into a moon lion for too long. His physical strength was too great, and his reaction speed and strength began to gradually weaken. Crack. Under the incomparably tough steel skin, 2 or 3 ribs in the chest were broken by the terrible blow wrapped around high-level conquerors and armed colors. It also caused considerable damage to other organs. Wow. Scarlet eyes glared angrily at the figure who was close at hand, and Wilhelm, who was holding the cloud teeth, vomited blood. But he was extremely ferocious, the moment he flew out like a cannonball. Gorgeous blade wrapped with stunning high-grade conquerors and armament hockey. Slashed out fiercely. Also on the hero Garp, who had no time to dodge, he uttered a shocking mouth. Boom. Regardless of the blood on the chest, Garp stomped on his feet, as fast as lightning and thunder. At the moment when the ice surface collapsed, it was like a violent tiger, rushing towards it. The huge fistprint was burning with raging flames, and he slammed up. Boy of the Charlotte family, you can't hold on anymore, can you? Ahem. That's true. Wilhelm was a bit exhausted, his whole body shrouded in electric light, steaming like smoke, sweating profusely, and his scarlet eyes were extremely sharp. Even if Garp has the observation haki that can foresee the future, it cannot bypass Wilhelm's exaggeratedly strong observation haki that can listen to the voices of others. He had already understood Garp's intention for the first time, and the blade was in front of him. Kang. The sound of gold and iron clashing was deafening. Block Garp Nahar Retsu's fist. With that powerful force, he retreated violently. This time, he didn't give Garp a chance to pursue him at all. With a flash of stature, he flew directly tens of meters away. Huh. Huh. Unfortunately, a few bugs came running over. Wilhelm was sweating profusely, his chest was heaving violently, and he couldn't stop panting there. As if feeling something, he wiped the bloodline from the corner of his mouth, looked directly at Garp in front of him, and said with regret, "This showdown, let's stop here." He is very aware of his situation. Over time, long periods of Moon Leo. The energy stored in the body is almost exhausted and the dream cannot be maintained. But that's not why he ended the fight. After all, not to mention the 10 rings, it is just relying on one's own ability to transfer fruits. He's still up for a fight. It is still unknown who will win the game in the end. It's his huge observation haki, which has sensed that the world government has sent reinforcements. It was obvious that the 5 elders were worried about something unexpected, or they wanted to take this opportunity to see if he could kill him, a potential threat that made them sleepless. I want the old man to stop, unless you hand over Ace. Garp snarled. The tall figure ran towards it like an afterimage regardless of consumption. Like an indefatigable monster, the huge iron fist is wrapped around the armed Iramoki and Conqueror's haki. It directly crushed the atmosphere and blasted up. However, a scarlet flash flashed in his eyes, as if he had foreseen something. His complexion changed drastically, but it was too late to pull back. Crimson Incomparable distorted the atmosphere of the fist, carrying a terrible high temperature. But Garp's hairs stood on end, and his pupils dilated suddenly. The whole person went straight through the silver-white figure. It was clearly only an afterimage of Wilhelm. Brush. There was a flash of light and flint. Wilhelm's figure suddenly appeared above Garp. The incomparably sharp Kong Yuna was picked up by him, and he slashed down like lightning. Boom, there was a loud bang. Smoke and dust billowed, and ice shards splashed. The large expanse of ice cracked and collapsed in an instant. Sigh, chirp, chirp. Silver long hair flutters. Hun body was surrounded by astonishing electric light, cooperating with the meaning of returning life, healed his own injuries, and the broken bones in his chest were regenerating and recovering at an astonishing speed. Could you have misunderstood? Wilhelm stared straight ahead indifferently at the hero Garp with a formidable face. At some point, the opponent's right shoulder was torn open with a bloody, not deep and not shallow gash. Holding the gorgeous blade intertwined with lightning, he said lightly, "I admit that you are indeed powerful, but don't forget. From the beginning to the end, the dominance of this battle is in my hands. I have to say that it is worthy of the Iron Fist, Garp." Ordinary powerhouses, under such circumstances, have almost no time to withdraw their strength and react. But at the critical moment, Chi himself narrowly escaped the fatal blow by relying on his rich experience and strong nerve responsibility. However, this is just the beginning, finally willing to use the ability to transfer fruit. Garp clenched his fists tightly. Glancing at the bloody right shoulder, his face was full of solemnity. The marine hero looked at Wilhelm coldly, but there was no fear in his expression. Over the years, he had already tempered to the point where Ultimate's life returned, controlling the contraction of the muscles to stop the bleeding. Even if he narrowly avoids the vital point, it is impossible to be completely fine in the face of Wilhelm's terrifying ability of elusiveness. The haki that covered in haste couldn't resist the violent slashing attacks of Armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki after the attack. The Charlotte Wilhelm in front of her has obviously really grown up. Moreover, his potential has clearly not yet reached its end, and he would rather suppress his own ability than use his marine hero to sharpen himself. Such a natural monster is indeed more terrifying than that big mom woman who is full of snacks and can only give birth to children. coupled with the ability of appearing and disappearing, making people hard to guard against. It's just chilling. Huh. Huh. I have to thank you, Garp. The physical exertion was enormous, and Wilhelm was sweating profusely. His chest was heaving. He looked directly at Garp, and said proudly, "You let me basically confirm one thing. In this sea, relying on my own with strength and the ability to transfer fruits, I am already invincible." Yes. He is sure. Except for the old monsters that might be lurking on the red line. Whether it's the four seas, the first half of the Grand Line, or even the New World. I am truly invincible. I have to say, it is indeed a terrifying ability. The next moment, Garp's figure was swift and fierce, and he ran out again. In an instant, rushed in front of Wilhelm, shouting there. But boy, ability is not invincible, and no one can directly dominate the world with the ability of a mere devil fruit. At least, the current you are far inferior to the old rocks. The extremely violent fist prints rubbed against the atmosphere violently, turning into afterimages all over the sky. The meteor is gone. Hoo. Dazzling fire, like a shining meteor. Densely packed, overwhelming the atmosphere, the wolf roared over. People can't help but break out in a cold sweat. Boom. Swipe, clang clang. But for a split second, Wilhelm's figure flickered continuously, turning into afterimages all over the sky. Relying on the astonishing electric arcs that continuously burst out in the body, stimulating its own cells, and amplifying its nerve response speed to ultimate, it cooperates with Paramecia Transfer Fruit's ability to appear and disappear. In an instant, it seemed as if there were countless him, all swinging their knives at the hero Garp. Shesh. The incomparably dazzling slash continuously tore through the atmosphere. Launched from all directions, they are extremely dense and intertwined into an impenetrable sword net. 360 degrees without a dead angle, directly enveloped the hero Garp. Unlimited killing opportunities. Next moment. A scarlet flashed in his eyes. Garp's hairs stood on end, his complexion changed dramatically. Between electric light and flint, not to be outdone by him. Roaring hysterically there. The complexion of the whole body is surging with amazing heat, and it is even more covered with the powerful armament hockey. The momentum is terrifying to the extreme, like a prehistoric beast. Ha. He fully activated his combat power, applying the mysteries of life return to ultimate, and fully stimulated his own potential. The hair stood on end. The skin covered by the armed color was actually dark red. Fistbone meteor karma. As if his physical strength had no limits, the iron fist swung out crazily without getting tired. The huge fist rubbed against the atmosphere violently, burning raging flames, as if it really came from hell, pouring down like an overwhelming meteor shower. Boom, the sky was full of smoke and dust. Earth-shattering collision. The electric light and flint, like the impact of a comet, is shocking. The entire ice surface has long been like the surface of the moon, dilapidated and pitted. There are countless large and small cracks that are bottomless. Huh. Garp, Wilhelm, both were there gasping for breath. They all stared at each other, but the difference is, Garp is covered in blood. There are dense and horrifying scars all over the place. Completely turned into a blood man, making one's scalp tingle. And his feet were already stained red with blood. People can intuitively feel what happened before. In an instant, Wilhelm, the great swordsman, went all out, and all the slashes he swung out were directly transferred to him without any warning, so close at hand. It is impossible to guard against, and it is impossible to avoid it. It is impossible for anyone to block them all safely. Being able to survive such a terrifying, almost lifeless offensive has fully proved the strength of this marine hero. Ahem, that ability is actually exaggerated to such an extent. Garp ignored the injury. Let the blood that can't stop flowing from the forehead soak through the eyes. Eyes fixed on Wilhelm. He still underestimated the opponent's ability. I can't even imagine that there is such an exaggerated ability in this world. Totally unreasonable. Even a slashing group of that level can be transferred to you in an instant. It doesn't give you any time or distance to react at all. How else can I hide besides accepting it forcefully? Sorry, rocks, he's no match for me. Wilhelm looked down at the bloody Garp, his face full of heavy conceit. Don't compare me with a mere loser. And this time, sensing the CPO trump card dispatched by the world government is getting closer. The consumption was too great, and Wilhelm, who was about to withdraw from the Moon Lion transformation, looked awe-inspiring. This is the last farewell gift for you. If you accidentally die, you can only blame you for being too weak. He took a deep breath, looking down at the solemn Garp who was waiting in front of him. Kong Yuna in his hand grabbed it directly, intertwined with dark red lightning and blue lightning. An incomparably evil aura could not stop permeating, full of destructive power, surging out. One knife flow esoteric prison dragon break. He slashed towards the suddenly discolored Garp. A shock wave visible to the naked eye was generated at a speed visible to the naked eye, intertwined with dark red and blue lightning, and continued to expand there, completely materialized, carrying a terrifying tornado storm. Momo 30-fold increase, in a split second. Wilhelm directly activated the power of the 10 rings. In Garp's horrified, disbelieving gaze, it was exaggerated, and the tornado shockwave that seemed to have self-awareness continued to increase and skyrocket at an astonishing speed. It turned into a huge monster that covered the sky and covered the sky. It's like a strong wind passing by, pulling the rotten. All obstacles are ruthlessly destroyed and annihilated. Unspeakable, coming to the ultimate, come crushed hard. Fistbone ultimate fist, heat surged all over his body. Covered with high-grade conquerors and armed with 2 kinds of hockey. His whole hair stood up and was dark red, which made people unable to help but be shocked. Muscles all over his body were pulsating, and Garp yelled hysterically, "Tyrannosaurus!" Roar, the atmosphere is directly distorted. A huge dragon-shaped phantom emerged, intertwined with dark red lightning, lifelike. It is far better than the Kanglongpo that Wilhelm used before, with a ferocious momentum and incomparably captivating. It opened its teeth and claws there, covering Garp's whole body. As the veins of his fists superimposed in front of him burst out violently, they blasted out violently. The dark red giant dragon was also roaring there, with unstoppable power, facing the unimaginably large super eye-shaped tornado shockwave that covered the sky and the sun. Without fear, go out on the attack. Boom, boom. Woo. Amazing white light, completely flooded there. The sky-shaking loud noise made the world tremble. All sounds seemed to be covered up. The sky seems to have lost its color. The already overwhelmed ice layer was completely torn apart. The violent wind pressure, accompanied by countless ice balls, swept away crazily. Can't keep your eyes open at all. Even tens of miles away, Garp's adjutant Borga and others who were watching from a distance and did not dare to approach the battlefield, and others who had already arrived at an astonishing speed riding a huge and extremely ferocious giant eagle CPO aces. All of them couldn't help but widen their eyes, staring blankly at the extremely dazzling white light in front of them. Boom. Woo. Clatter. Crash. After a few days, an astonishing piece of news shook the sea. The capital of the Goa Kingdom, rumored to be spotless, is the most beautiful town in East Blue, and there are several villages along with the surrounding mountains. All were ruthlessly destroyed by a sudden huge tsunami and supergiant tornado storm. The entire country is directly declared dead. But under the deliberate intervention of the world government. This incident did not cause much attention and sensation. Even, the outside world just thought that it was caused by natural disasters. No one expected that it was just a blow from Wilhelm hundreds of nautical miles away. Not only did the marine hero Garp almost die, but the CPO who rushed over rescued him in time and treated him, saving his life. Even the kingdom of Goya, which was extremely far away from the battlefield, suffered an indiscriminate disaster. It was directly destroyed by the terrifying supergiant tornado storm and the huge tsunami it triggered. However, after a week, Wilhelm's original bounty of 2 billion Baileys. It has changed silently and directly turned into Bailey. Let the sea roar. What? 3 billion Baileys? Hey, isn't that too exaggerated? Could it be that this noble son of Zhang Yi did something sensational again? All of a sudden, the bounty has increased by another billion Baileys, which is unbelievable. East Blue, West Blue, South Blue, North Blue. The first half of the Grand Line, and even the New World. Looking at the reward orders falling from the brand new newspapers. Countless people were inexplicably astonished, their jaws almost dropped to the ground. In less than half a year, Charlotte Wilhelm, who was less than 17 years old, the trembling nobleman, unexpectedly raised his bounty again, and was offered a bounty of 3 billion Baileys by the world government. Go straight after Big Mom, Whitebeard, Kaido of the Beasts, these pirate kings who have been recognized as kings of the New World. Shocking, can't believe it. At this time. Top of the red line, Sanctuary Marie Joys. The palatial powers within. 3 billion Baileys. What a horrible monster. In suits and leather shoes, the meticulously dressed long Whitebeard 5 elders stood there. looking at the Shi Jing Bao, just delivered in the reward order for Charlotte Wilhelm, who is too young to be ridiculous. He frowned and said worriedly, "If you want to kill him, I'm afraid you've lost your chance. This monster has fully grown up." According to the report of Stussy at the CPO, no matter how powerful the poison is, it is useless to the monster Charlotte Wilhelm. The blonde 5 elders also had a solemn face, and said quietly, "Because of the ability to transfer fruit, even the toxins that invade the body can be transferred out." And Rob Lucci, who once lurked the Big Mom Pirates, also reported that Charlotte Wilhelm's ability can directly transfer the devil fruit in the body of the capable person. It is even possible to let the capable person change their ability without killing the capable person. That's how Katakori's Logia air fruit ability came about. He was just a special Paramecia refined fruit ability user. According to the latest information, he deprived Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Kizaru of the Logia sparkling fruit ability, and transferred it to Shiryu of the Rain, replacing the Paramecia Momo that the opponent took from the impelled down fruit. In general, the danger of the Big Mom Pirates has far exceeded our expectations, beyond our control, and has reached the point where we have to pay attention. With a cane, a flat cap, and dreadlocks, 5 elders spoke in a low voice. However, the 5 elders had no idea. These are just what Wilhelm deliberately let Stussy and Rob Lucci leak to them in order to allow Stussy and Rob Lucci to gain the trust of the world government. Because, even if you know the ability to transfer fruits, even now, they can no longer pose any threat to Wilhelm, who has grown up. Big Mom, Charlotte Linlin, the Trembling Prince, Charlotte Wilhelm. These two real natural monsters, plus Katakori, Shiryu of the Rain, Shirumoto Musashi, and swordsman Ryoma, who are capable of Logia air fruit. Its strength has already caught up with the Marine, which has stood for hundreds of years as the overlord of the sea. Enough to threaten the status of the world government. Sitting there, holding the ghostly bald head of the fake first generation, 5 elders pushed his glasses, a glint of coldness flashed in his eyes, and said coldly, "Then, if you want to kill him, just some special devil fruit." 5 elders, the head of Whitebeard, put down the newspaper, paced back and forth there, and murmured, "The last time I summoned Sora, Marin Zhixiang Suru once mentioned that when the young wolf cubs grow up, they will inevitably challenge the pack. The Wolf King judges that sooner or later there will be conflicts within the Big Mom Pirates. There's no room for 2 tigers. Charlotte Wilhelm is by no means a peaceful guy. He is so ambitious that he will never be willing to bow down to others, especially when he bows to an abnormal crazy woman like Charlotte Linlin. There is no doubt that it is not just a wolf, but a tiger that has grown up. All it takes is one trigger point, which is bound to trigger conflicts between him and Charlotte Linlin, causing these two natural monsters to have a fierce conflict. Even Garp, the undisputed strongest in the naval headquarters, lost. Whitebeard 5 elders, the director, is sure. Big Mom, a woman with only snacks in her head, will never be the opponent of Charlotte Wilhelm, that cunning brat, no matter in terms of brains or strength. He was almost sure, if Big Mom clashes with Charlotte Wilhelm, the winner who leads the Big Mom Pirates in the end is definitely the Trembling Nobleman. Then let CP find a way to provoke the relationship between the two mothers and sons as soon as possible. Charlotte Wilhelm can no longer be given more time to prepare and plan. It is best to directly split the Big Mom pirate group and let them fight each other, fighting, weakening their strength. The bald 5 elders with big mustache folded his arms, sat on the sofa, and said viciously, "Maybe we can find an opportunity to defeat and annihilate the Big Mom Pirates in one fell swoop, and it is best to get rid of Charlotte. That disturbing little monster of T. Wilhelm." Indeed, once the two vicious tigers decide the winner, even if they lose a master like Charlotte Linlin, a Big Mom pirate group led by Charlotte Wilhelm is still a huge threat. The blonde 5 elders nodded. With deep fear in his eyes, he said in a deep voice, "Especially, they can also plunder the devil fruit ability from the capable person, and it is said that they can replace the ability on the capable person without killing the capable person. Then let's arrange this matter like this." Long Whitebeard 5 elders and other 5 elders, look at each other there. Seeing that they nodded one after another, and there was no objection, they made a decision. Paramecia transfer fruit. The mysterious and unpredictable ability made 5 elders deeply uneasy. Even if they are in control of the highest power in the world government, they can't guarantee whether that daring monster will directly invade Marie Joy's one day and directly sell the heads of the 5 of them. After all, the ability to transfer fruit is too frightening. With the strength of Charlotte Wilhelm that monster is today. Even if the CPO's trump card and shield are guarding Pengu City, they may not be able to stop it. The 5 of them have been pampered and pampered for a long time, and their strength, which was not weak when they were young, has already degenerated with time. Where can be prevented from time to time? With thoughts racing in his mind, Long Whitebeard sat down. He rubbed the center of his brows, breathed out and said, Paramecia, transfer fruit, it's really a headache-enhancing ability. It can be compared with the ability of the human fruit, phantom beast, and Nika form that the world government was most afraid of. It has tried to seize and keep it for countless years, but it has always made mistakes. According to Garp's report after waking up, even being able to use the ability to transfer the fruits of countless slashes he swung to directly transfer them to the target in an instant does not give the enemy any chance to dodge. Even this powerful marine hero cannot completely block and evade. He could only rely on armament hockey's defense to resist most of it. It's really chilling. It's more than comparable. It's even worse. Thinking of the first-generation Goosh who was snatched from his hands, regarded as a treasure, and never left his hands, the bald 5 elders felt a little pain in his liver and gritted his teeth. No matter how unwilling to admit it, in the eyes of the bald 5 elders, Paramecia, the ability to transfer fruit, its threat is greater than the ability of the world's most nonsense. It can be called the most unsolvable ability in the world. No matter how mischievous the human fruit phantom beast Nika form ability that was changed by the world government and misled the world under the name of Paramecia rubber fruit, it is impossible for them to be afraid to this extent. However, those with the ability to transfer fruit, Paramecia, were able to enter the highest power center of the world government as if no one was there, making it difficult for rulers like them standing at the top of the power of the world government to sleep and eat. Charlotte Wilhelm can not only connect herself with any target, but also switch positions at will. In particular, this ability can not only directly transfer the toxins that invade the body, but also directly transfer and deprive the devil fruit from the capable person. We must get rid of him as soon as possible. Lord Im's predictions are never wrong. Flat cap dreadlocks 5 elders opening. Holding a cane, he squinted his eyes and said in a deep voice, think about it, his ability has not yet awakened, and he is already so terrifying. What if I awaken one day? Heard the words. 5 elders present. All of them couldn't help but their pupils constricted sharply and their complexions changed. Although in theory, the stronger the devil fruit ability, the harsher the awakening conditions. But with Charlotte Wilhelm's mentality that is completely blue compared to Charlotte Linlin's, and the inherent terrifying talent, monster-like potential. At present, I am afraid that they have not really reached the age of 16, but they already have such strength. It will be a matter of time before one's own ability is awakened. You say, if it is really awakened, to what extent can that Paramecia transfer fruit's ability be achieved? Big Mustache 5 elders said with a cloudy expression, frowning. After the vast majority of Paramecia's abilities are awakened, their abilities can interfere and affect the surrounding environment. The bald 5 elders thought hard, but in the end he shook his head helplessly and said, but the ability to transfer fruits is a rare space-type ability, and it is too special. Unexpected. Maybe, it can be remotely marked and directly transferred over a long distance. He racked his brains. This is the only thing I can think of. As far as I know, the ability user of Paramecia meatball fruit, Bartholomew Bear, the king of the Bell Kingdom, can even eject the damage from the body after awakening the ability, which is quite exaggerated. Long Whitebeard 5 elders stroked his beard, and said quietly, even the toxins and demons that have invaded the body can be transferred. Maybe, after he awakens, he may not even be able to transfer the victim secretly. I heard. The hearts of the 5 elders present jumped. I only felt my scalp explode, a little tingling, and the cold came out. Such a powerful monster, if it really can transfer damage. Isn't that really invincible? Even if it is transfer damage, there is a certain limit. But want to really kill him? Undoubtedly more difficult. We guess here, it doesn't make any sense. The most important thing is to find a way to contain him. The blonde 5 elders looked solemn, and said bluntly, to be honest, with his current strength and threat level, even if he directly offered a reward of 4 billion Baileys, it would be more than enough. No way. After the death of Sengoku the Buddha, the only admiral of headquarters who was struggling to support the situation, Garp, the marine hero, can be said to be the belief in pillar of marine, and it is also the last facade. Mayor Whitebeard 5 elders sighed. If the news of his defeat spreads, the consequences will be disastrous. In fact, if it weren't for some scruples, I don't want the outside world to know about the legend in Marine. In the Battle of the Valley of the Gods, I stopped Rox, the sea overlord of the previous era, and even pushed Roger, the One Piece king, into desperation several times. The news of the defeat of the Iron Fist, Garp, who was regarded as a marine hero by Marine and has become Marine's pillar in belief. The world government has already raised Wilhelm's bounty to a level comparable to or even higher than that of the captain of the Whitebeard pirates, Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, Big Mom and other great pirates. In the eyes of the five elders, the current Charlotte Wilhelm is undoubtedly far more dangerous than Whitebeard, and has become the #1 enemy of the world government. That kind of terrifying ability that is elusive and unpredictable. So far they have not thought of any better way to deal with it. In particular, the strength displayed by the opponent simply made them a little unbelievable. Less than a year later, when the other party was just fledgling, even Dong Tien, who was Admiral's backup, was able to give him a head start. Now they have been able to confront the marine hero Garp head-on, defeat him, and walk away before the trump card of CPO arrives. All things considered, Charlotte Wilhelm is only 15 or 16 years old, not even an adult. Such potential, such growth rate, it's really chilling. East Blue. Uncharted waters. The huge ark was sailing across the sky. And on deck. Except for little Nami, who is quietly hugging little Nami, sitting in the leisure area, humming a song happily. Whether it's Yamato, Kuina, Hancock, Prim, Garrett, Bacala, or Miss Olive, Armand, Strong, Custard, etc., they are all there. Doing morning exercises. Watching the newsbirds flying from the sky carrying a lot of newspapers. Snarman, who was practicing swordsmanship there, flicked his fingers. A coin flew up and landed precisely in the pocket hanging around Newsbird's neck. She habitually bought a newspaper from the flying newsbird. Looking at the reward list falling from the newspaper, his pupils shrank, a little surprised. Wilhelm, your bounty has changed again. Snapmon raised the reward order in his hand. With a smile on his handsome and heroic face, he directly swung the homie's épée, which was full of tens of thousands of tons, and exerted 100 times the weight on himself, said Wilhelm, who was constantly training, with a smile. Oh? Armand, Custard and the other women couldn't help being a little surprised. Wilhelm big brother, master, teacher's bounty changed again? Sir Wilhelm's bounty should be no less than 2.5 billion, right? Sister Sneyman, Wilhelm big brother's bounty is close. Hancock, Garrett, Kuina and the others. They all stopped their practice and ran over curiously. Soon, everyone was taken aback by the exaggerated number. Some dumbfounded. 3 billion Baileys. Wielding an exaggerated épée, the deck made of shape memory alloy under his feet was whimpering faintly. The sweaty Wilhelm didn't turn his head back, but with the observation hockey who listened to his heart, he had an insight into Sneyman's heart for the first time. His complexion remained unchanged, and he said lightly, so. After a battle with Garp. In the case of not using the ability to transfer the fruit, you will try your best to fight the opponent for 3 days and 3 nights of high-intensity fierce battle. He gained a lot, not only polished the Conqueror's hockey to be more concise, but also improved his sword skills a lot. He has a full understanding of the strength of those monsters. I also saw the gap between the former and this row of top powerhouses in terms of physical fitness, endurance, hockey, experience, etc. Aside from the 10 rings, and his own ability to transfer fruits, if he does not directly transform into a moonlion under normal conditions, he will not be able to face such a strong person for a long time. The strength he pursues is the strength of ultimate swordsmanship, taijutsu, hockey, etc. No matter in any aspect, it must surpass, crush, and even far surpass other people without any suspense. Therefore, Wilhelm has always been extremely demanding of himself, even to the extreme. Whenever facing the enemy, under normal circumstances, they are unwilling to use Paramecia's fruit transfer ability until the last moment. It's not that he rejects his devil fruit ability, and it's not that he doesn't trust devil fruit's power. Rather, he wants to use these strong men to sharpen himself and make himself truly invincible. An invincible that is so perfect that it has no weaknesses. Because he believes that the real background of the world government is by no means the marine that acts as a facade and a superficial image. When he first invaded Marie Joy's, his observation hockey scanned the entire Pangu city but found nothing. I wonder if the other party has any means to block his own perception. At present, it is not known at all how many old monsters there are in the world government. Capable of firmly ruling the world for hundreds of years, the background of celestial dragons is by no means as simple as it appears on the surface. After all, in this sea, whether it is devil fruit or technology, it is possible for people to gain longevity. It is not impossible for some powerful monsters among celestial dragons to survive in a certain era. In particular, even the ancient weapon, Poseidon can be a mermaid princess, born only once in hundreds of years. So, can the more powerful, Uranus, really not be a human? Just that I am who most likely lived for more than 800 years. I believe it is absolutely ridiculously strong. If the body has been kept at its peak for 800 years. No matter how bad the talent is, I believe it has polished conqueror's hockey to an unimaginable height. What's more, such a strong man who is qualified to ascend the throne of the void and make the 5 elders bow his head, before he himself obtains eternal life, his strength will never be inferior. Therefore, Wilhelm, who easily defeated the marine hero Garp after using the power of the 10 rings, did not feel complacent, and never let up every day. Instead, he trained more rigorously to tap his own potential, rain or shine. His gaze never stayed on marine, but kept staring at the world government, and at the figure on the void throne. Whether it is naval headquarters as the overlord of the sea, the highest cipher POLCP directly under the celestial dragons under the world government. When the time comes, the strong men under him will deal with it. Otherwise, what has he been doing, sparing no effort to search for and cultivate those potential seeds? As time goes by, they will continue to grow up, from seedlings to be able to stand alone, and become towering trees that support the giant pillars of the Big Mom pirates. And he has to deal with it. It is that, or it may be those old monsters who have lived for an unknown number of years and whose strength is unfathomable. This is obviously not something that can be done easily. No matter how high the talent is, no matter how powerful the potential is, it needs corresponding time and sweat before it can be realized into real strength. What he has to do is to try his best to shorten this process as much as possible. He stopped swinging his sword. Let 2 homies who have the abilities of Paramecia ton pressed fruit and Paramecia weight fruit respectively be alive, and bring their abilities into contact. Wilhelm regained his relief for a moment, shaking the sweat off his head. Chaumath Olib said, "Go get me a pair of seastone handcuffs." "Yes, Wilhelm Angel." Olib was taken aback, a little surprised. But without hesitation, he got up and walked towards the cabin. "Are you going to practice with seastone, Wilhelm?" Custard asked curiously. "Well, it's time to start resistance training in this area." Da-da. Clatter. Woohoo. Huge arc. Landed on the sea. It caused a large splash of water. Relying on its own motivation, it slowly moved forward there. And under the watchful eyes of Armand, Sneyman, Castard and others. Wilhelm took the seastone handcuffs that Mies Olib handed over through the glove. Without hesitation, he handcuffed it on both hands. A sense of powerlessness gushed out immediately. It's as if every cell in the whole body is out of breath. With Wilhelm's innate monster physique, even if he wears a seastone, he can still possess quite terrifying power. But the ability of Devil Fruit seems to have disappeared, completely unusable. Even hockey is the same. Sure enough, life return is useless. Wilhelm tried to use his own consciousness to mobilize the potential memory area in his body. The long silver hair flew up softly, but fell down again the next moment. Failed. It's already exaggerated. Strawn folded his arms and exclaimed in awe. Ordinary ability users, wearing this kind of seastone with extremely high purity, can be said to be 100%, will not be able to stand normally. This pair of seastone handcuffs is not ordinary. Instead, Wilhelm asked Big Mom pirates to find a way to get specially customized seastone handcuffs from the Beast's pirates. The purity is unbelievably high, equivalent to 100%. For the vast majority of ability users, it is not bad if they can walk normally after wearing it. As for Wilhelm, he even almost mobilized the power of returning life directly. This kind of performance made them a little dumbfounded. Well, after a long workout, he can really do it while wearing the seastone. Directly use the power of life return. I still need to strengthen my training to adapt. Wilhelm spoke lightly. Once you can wear the 100% pure seastone handcuffs, you can use your life to return it. Even after he was accidentally recruited and his ability was blocked with seastone. Unless he was killed immediately, he could rely on the power of life return, manipulate the hair with consciousness, insert it into the keyhole, and open the seastone handcuffs in an instant. Wilhelm directly said to the homies Swordwit #1 that possesses the ability of Paramecia tons of crushing fruit. Transform into a barbell shape and maintain a ton of weight. Yes, Master Wilhelm. Wit barbell, daily tons, 1 ton. Soon. The form of Wit #1 was directly changed from an épée to a barbell. And presents a ton of weight. Gripped directly by Wilhelm wearing the seastone. He actually lifted it up. Let It's actually lifted. Under the condition of suppressing extremely high purity sea stone, it can still maintain more than 1 ton of strength. Simply incredible, although it looks a little difficult. But such an exaggerated performance still made Armand, Castard and the others dumbfounded. Is this a fake sea stone? If it were them, they wouldn't be able to collapse directly to the ground. But at most, that is, the strength that can be displayed by walking normally may be barely higher than that of ordinary people. But definitely not to such an exaggerated level. Not enough. 2 tons. Wilhelm stood there. The legs are extremely heavy, and the barbell is constantly lifted up and down. On the barbell, an anthropomorphic face responded, "Yes, Master Wilhelm. 2 tons, 2 tons." In a split second, the barbell was increased again, reaching 2 tons. Not enough, plus. Soon. Barbell weight, at Wilhelm's request. Constantly changing. 3 tons, 4 tons, 5 tons. It wasn't until the full 10 tons that Wilhelm breathed heavily and didn't let the homie's wit number 1 continue to increase. Who? He was panting there, sweating profusely. Holding a 10-ton barbell, his footsteps were a little unsteady. It seemed a little strenuous, but he was not crushed like this, and he was still holding the extremely heavy barbell there. Under the incredulous eyes of Armand, Hancock, Sneyman, Garrett and other women. Even, Wilhelm began to order homie's wit number 2, who is worn on the arm as a paramecia weight fruit ability user, to continuously increase his own weight. Gritting his teeth, he trained crazily, "Bolu, Bolu." At this time, the phone bug, which was placed aside, suddenly opened its eyes and kept ringing. Under Wilhelm's signal, Mies Olive connected to the phone bug. Call. Based on the outline simulated by the phone bug, he guessed the other party's identity. Wearing sea stone handcuffs, holding dumbbells, Wilhelm was panting with sweat, and raised his eyebrows. "Katakuri big brother, what's the matter?" "Wilhelm, are you still in East Blue?" The other end of the phone bug. Far away in a certain sea area in the first half of the New World. The Fren Island base that was supposed to belong to the Marine Forward Position. At some point, the banner of the Big Mom Pirates has been flying, and it is completely occupied by the Big Mom Pirates. At the highest point of the base, overlooking the entire Fren Island, the energetic Katakuri said, "I was shocked when I saw your new reward list. It's just a string of dispensable numbers, nothing surprising." Holding the extremely heavy dumbbells and squatting up and down continuously, Wilhelm gritted his teeth and asked, I'm training. Is there anything else important?" "It's like this. The negotiation with Naval Headquarters has been successfully concluded, and the two parties have completed the captive and ransom transaction." Katakuri didn't make a fool of himself, and said directly, "The world government has redeemed more than 10,000 marine captives with a ransom of 50 billion Baileys and 15 devil fruits. They are located on several resource islands in the first half of New World. Both of us own half of the mining rights. The MARINEG-5 fortress is set up at the New World's frontier Fren Island base, which will be under our control. I have already begun sending some personnel to settle there. Those guys are very cunning. Knowing that you can steal other people's devil fruit abilities, they directly handed over 10 slaves and prisoners with devil fruit abilities to us. In addition, at our request, they gave us an additional 5 unknown devil fruits. In addition, they have already agreed that neither the world government nor the naval headquarters are allowed to take action on the Golden Entertainment City, that will be officially opened, otherwise it will be regarded as a full-scale declaration of war on the Big Mom Pirates. The Golden Entertainment City plan was proposed by Wilhelm. Let the Big Mom Pirates go all out to build a super-large ship. The length, more than 10 kilometers, is equivalent to the area of a small island. Make use of negotiations with the world government to turn it into an absolute sanctuary that no one can make a move on, and build a world's largest and most luxurious offshore entertainment city. It integrates facilities such as casino tourism, sightseeing and shopping, gourmet snacks and so on. Let it become a gold-selling cave for countless dignitaries and pirates. Although Dr. Hawkins, who is a munch fruit ability user, has no time to waste time on this. However, the civet cat Potona's ability to transform into a raccoon can transform into Dr. Hawkins and Douglas Bullet. Using the abilities of Paramecia Munch Fruit and Paramecia Fusion Fruit, the construction of the Style Gold Entertainment City. The main structure will naturally not take much effort. The main reason is that the huge investment in decoration made Katakuri's eyelids twitch. It is about to be officially completed. What? Gold Casino? Gold Gulen? Is it the largest ship in this sea? It's over 10 kilometers long, isn't that an exaggeration? Even the world government and naval headquarters can't attack it easily. Even if the pirates are on this ship, Marine can't trespass. The world government would agree to such a request from the Big Mom pirates. It's outrageous. Friend Island. Isn't that Marine's forward position in New World? How did it come under the control of the Big Mom pirates? Is it the most luxurious offshore entertainment city in the world? Interesting. Will it officially open in a month? I'm really looking forward to it. Golden Gulen, great design. I can't imagine how big it is. The next day. Accompanied by newsbirds flying around the world. The shocking news caused a sensation in the sea. Countless people were shocked and inexplicably looking at the huge monster that was published in the newspaper. According to the legend, the Golden Gulen County is more than 10 kilometers long, resplendent, extremely luxurious, and extremely luxurious. 1 month later, in the first half of New World, Friend Island under the control of the Big Mom pirates will officially launch for business. Especially, according to the relevant introduction above. This is an absolute holy domain that even the world government and naval headquarters cannot easily attack. No matter if it is a marine or a pirate, as long as they are on this ship, they must not do anything. They have only one identity, and that is the guests of the Golden Entertainment City. Anyone who tries to use force in Gold Casino, no matter what identity, reason, or position, they will be hunted down by the Big Mom pirates relentlessly. But it made many people full of astonishment. What some couldn't believe was that Friend Island, which was supposed to be under the control of naval headquarters, had always been in charge of monitoring the Big Mom pirates' every move. As a result, it has now quietly fallen under the control of the Big Mom pirates. Moreover, the Big Mom pirates are still there, holding a grand launch ceremony for the Golden Gulen County. This is literally stomping naval headquarters in the face. But surprisingly, both the world government and the naval headquarters remained silent and did not speak out. It seems to acquiesce in the fact that Friend Island is the territory of the Big Mom pirates. The first half of the Grand Line. Naval Headquarters Marineford, inside the Marine Marshal's office. Marine Staff Officer Suru Vice Admiral walked in and saluted Kong, the Marine Marshal. Marshal Kong, those Marine officers and soldiers who were rescued, I have ordered them to be properly arranged. Shall he, take a look. Kong was livid as he sat there, touching an extremely exquisite bronzing invitation letter. Throwing it in front of Suru Vice Admiral, he gritted his teeth and said, "This is an invitation from the Big Mom pirates, inviting Marine to Friend Island in New World. Participate in the launching ceremony of the Golden Gulen." His heart was bleeding. Although from the hands of the Big Mom pirates, tens of thousands of Marine elites were redeemed, but the price paid was too great. A total of 50 billion Baileys, 15 devil fruits, and half of the mining rights of several resource islands. Even the forward position on Friend Island, originally arranged by Marine to monitor every move of the Big Mom pirates, was forced to cede to the Big Mom pirates. Even, there are other series of harsh conditions. It made him, the Marine Marshal, want to vomit blood. Well, the biggest ship in the world? I've heard of it. Flipping through the invitation card thrown by Kong, Suru Vice Admiral looked calm and didn't care. With the disastrous defeat of the expedition fleet, the sacrifice of Admiral of Headquarters Sengoku, and the 2 admiral candidates Kizaru and Aokiji, tens of thousands of Marine elites were captured. By now, Marine's face has already been discredited. Not afraid of a little more. Do you think we should send someone there? Kong asked, frowning. Suru Vice Admiral nodded. Of course, this is an opportunity to spy on the Big Mom pirates. Can. The Marine Marshal stroked the Mohawk's head, not without concerns. Also, how could Kong not be afraid? Not long ago, Garp just saved his life from Charlotte Wilhelm. General Marine personnel, not enough partitions. Enough weight, and he was afraid that the Big Mom Pirates group would be too insidious. Marine, which has suffered heavy losses and can only maintain a shelf, how many veterans are there? The Marshal is worried that the person sent there may be a sheep in the mouth of a tiger? Watching Kong, who hesitated to speak, Suru Vice Admiral said bluntly, "I have to admit that his growth has indeed far exceeded our expectations, but I don't think Charlotte Wilhelm can do that. It's not that he is so noble, but that he knows how to measure or advance and retreat. He is different from the pirates we have fought against in the past. He is a very scheming guy who makes plans before moving. Just like the defeat of the expedition fleet, it was his arrangement from the beginning, even though it has started since the invasion of Marie Joyce, the center of the world government. Before he is fully prepared, I believe he never wants to tear himself apart from the profound world government so quickly and face it head on. Otherwise, let alone redeeming the tens of thousands of marine captives, Garp was already dead when he was in East Blue a few days ago. According to Garp's dictation, they knew very well just how terrifying the monster Charlotte Wilhelm's fighting power was right now. Relying on the terrifying ability to transfer fruit, it seems to control other devil fruit abilities in disguise. Even a strong man like marine hero Garp can't stop it. Back then, if he wanted to kill Garp, he would have already done so. But once the marine hero Garp dies, it means that the next big mom pirate group will directly face the unfathomable world government. It is no longer just naval headquarters as a facade. Obviously, the other party should have some scruples. 9 times out of 10, before making full preparations and accumulating enough strength, I don't want to turn the table so quickly and push the world government into a complete emergency. Otherwise, even the CPO aces sent by the world government in the past. It's also impossible to overwhelm Charlotte Wilhelm. At least, after killing the marine hero Garp, he can calmly retire. Then let Gion and Cake go there. Kong thought over and over again, and said directly, Sakazuki's temper is not suitable, and it is easy to cause unnecessary conflicts. By the way, has the identity of that monster who emerged from the world conscription a few days ago been clarified? Kong took a deep breath, looked at Suru Vice Admiral and asked in a deep voice, is it reliable? The investigation has been clear. He has a clean background and has no major problems. Apart from being a little bit fond of gambling, he is an extremely benevolent folk knight, but his temper is a bit cynical. Suru Vice Admiral spread his hands, and said helplessly, I am mainly worried that his political appeal is too idealistic, and it is easy to conflict with the marine executives or the world government, so it is not easy to restrain. No matter how difficult it is to restrain, let him go to become a pirate one day and he can't be restrained. Kong was full of determination, and said, especially this kind of combat power is exactly what our marines are currently in short supply. Then, has he been appointed? Suru Vice Admiral nodded, not surprised. In the current marine, there are not many choices. In this way, apart from him and the default Sakazuki, we are short of the last place. There is one more thing, the CP side has also got an idea. Clatter. Half a month later, North Blue, a place of extreme cold. The huge ark is moving forward on the vast sea. Surprisingly, there are 2 exaggerated giant tortoises, no less than 1 kilometer in size, floating on the surface of the sea, with 4 claws paddling, followed by ark proverbs. And above the ark, on the spacious training ground, a silver-white figure with seastone handcuffs on both hands. He even bears a body weight equivalent to 10 times the force of gravity, holding a barbell weighing hundreds of tons, doing squats, leapfrogs and other movements, sweating profusely. And Karstad and the others have long been familiar with Wilhelm's monster-like performance. For ordinary ability users, wearing such high-purity seastone handcuffs, it is not bad to be able to walk normally. But Wilhelm is a born monster. Definitely not your average demon fruit power. In the beginning, even if he had never done seastone resistance training before, they can exert a force of more than 10 tons. And after these days of continuous training, he seems to have great resistance to seastone. Even wearing 100% pure seastone handcuffs, they can exert quite exaggerated strength, directly lifting hundreds of tons of heavy objects. Even the return of life can be performed at will. No matching keys are needed, and the seastone handcuffs on both hands can be released by manipulating one's own hair through the keyhole. As for his hockey, although the ability of the seastone is sealed, it is even more powerless, unable to fully mobilize its own power, and it is difficult to fully exert it, but it can also be animated. However, after countless verifications, what makes Wilhelm a little helpless is that he can only mobilize a very small part of his own strength. With the armament hockey, which is mostly restricted, it can be said that it is half-baked. Even if it can use the advanced skills of armament hockey's internal destruction, it cannot shake the seastone handcuffs with extremely high hardness, which is comparable to diamonds. Tisk tisk, thanks to Wilhelm, you can figure it out. Sneyman shook off his sweat, glanced at the 2 giant tortoises behind him, and said with emotion, nature used such a big bird and fish to pull the boat. That is a giant tortoise specially caught from the extremely cold North Blue, tamed through the ability of Primna Paramisha. They will be responsible for pulling the huge and overly heavy Golden Gulen. The most luxurious entertainment city in the world. It really makes people curious. Maiz Alib, who had just finished training, was sitting there teasing little Nami, who had already started to babble. The little Nuo Kagao next to him was sitting quietly enjoying the delicious dessert, with a happy smile on his face. In the leisure area on the side, Karstad, who was sweating from training, wiped his sweat with a towel, and said with a smile, "Just think of it as going on vacation." As the sea, the most luxurious gold entertainment city will officially open for business. This will be the largest launching ceremony of the world's largest ship, Duel. Whether it is the kings of the dark world or the famous pirates of the New World, countless big shots have already received the invitation. This golden entertainment city, Days. It is a project that Wilhelm attaches great importance to, and he does not hesitate to invest huge sums of money. It is said that there is hope to become the money bag of their Big Mom pirates in the future. Their mother Big Mom is a no-nonsense person who will not leave Cake Island easily. And Wilhelm, who is already the real number 2 of the Big Mom pirates, will naturally be present. Therefore, their original plan to travel around the world had to come to an end temporarily and return to New World before the opening of the Golden Casino. Phew. Katakuri Big Brother has sent news that the Golden Gulen has been built and tested the waters today. Taking a long breath, holding a barbell weighing hundreds of tons, Wilhelm, who was sweating profusely, said directly, "In this case, let's go back to New World first, and then enter North Blue to travel." Originally, he planned to swim the North Blue, and then go directly to the West Blue through the New World. Now the plan has undoubtedly changed, and I have to go back to New World first, wait for the opening ceremony of the Golden Casino to be successfully concluded, and then re-enter the North Blue through the Calm Belt to continue the previous voyage. But it's not a big problem, and it doesn't affect their next voyage. It's right to go to the Golden Entertainment City for vacation. Besides, Sister Smoothie has long wanted to come to us. Wilhelm shrugged. Just in time, after the matter between the Red Earl and Bullet is settled, she won't have to stay in the Island of Love every day up. The bat fruit, phantom beast species, and vampire form ability found in Sleeping Ancient Town, and the bird fruit, phantom beast species, and new form ability presented by Bacala. He already has 2 Eudemon's devil fruit in his hand. When there are 2 more special phantom beast powerhouses, and his most valued Sakamuni takes over the overall situation, the guards of the Island of Love will be as strong as gold. At that time, Smoothie, a Logia Thunderfruit capable user, won't need to work so hard on the Island of Love. You can get out and join their trip, travel around the sea together. At this time, Wilhelm's silver hair danced. He suddenly released the seastone handcuffs on his own hands. The whole body was relaxed, and there was an invisible breath that made people jump in fear. "What's the matter, Master Wilhelm?" Mies Olive was a little surprised. In order to adapt to the seastone's resistance, this lord has been wearing seastones all the time except for rare cases these days. Even when resting at night, it is no exception. Let her experience the cross-dressing play severely. "It's nothing, someone has thrown themselves into the trap." Wilhelm sneered. "I was thinking, wait until the opening ceremony of the Golden Casino at New World is successfully concluded before looking for them." Although he wears seastone, but even if the exaggerated observation hockey is not as good as before, it is still amazingly strong. It has already sensed that a huge war fortress is approaching more than 10 nautical miles away. Strom, who is tall and tall, looked at the sea in the distance. His pupils shrank. "Is that a movable castle?" "It's Germa 66. Tisk tisk, is that the legendary warhouse?" Countless large sea Katsuyu battleships are combined to form that land, on a huge warhouse like a small island. On a training ground, the oldest were only 5 or 6 years old, while the youngest was only over 2 years old. They all had strange curly eyebrows and different hair colors. Except for a shivering child with blonde hair, a bruised nose and a swollen face. The rest of the children showed superhuman physical fitness and strength there, and even adult men were easily defeated by them. People can't help but be a little startled. "Lord Judge, there is love ahead." But this time, the personnel in charge of monitoring the sea surface reported loudly there. A large pirate ship and 2 giant tortoises. While paying attention to the training of his children, Vince Mo K. Judge, the leader of Germa 66, couldn't help walking over. Looking at the sea in the distance with a monocular, his eyes narrowed sharply. "That's the flag of the Big Mom pirates." "Well, the style of that ship is a bit familiar." "It is. Ark Proverbs 040. Recognizing the ark and the flag hanging on it, Vince Mo K. Judge couldn't help but change his face. Then the person on it could be. On his forehead, cold sweat dripped out, and he hurriedly ordered loudly, "Quick, avoid them." However, it was obviously too late. Brush. In a split second. Disappeared in place in an instant. Appeared directly in front of the Proverbs of the ark. The next moment. Everyone has not had time to react in the future. A silver-white stalwart figure had already appeared on the territory of Germa Kingdom. And still standing on the top of the most central castle. Who? It's trembling your highness, Charlotte Wilhelm. A pirate with a bounty exceeding 3 billion Baileys. Countless Germa warriors. Together with Vince K. Judge, the supreme commander of Germa 66. Looking at the intruder that suddenly appeared, they couldn't help feeling an indescribable fear. A thought of not an opponent at all, and impossible to beat, emerged in my heart immediately. That is the subconscious surrender of lower creatures seeing the creatures at the top of the food chain. They couldn't help trembling and uneasy. You are Germa's commander, Vince K. Judge, right? Silver hair fluttering in the wind, Wilhelm's majestic figure stood on the most central castle of Germa Kingdom. Condescendingly looking down at the front, Vince K. Judge, the whole person froze there. The hairs all over his body stood up, as if he was facing a big enemy. He said lightly, "From today onwards, I want everything in Germa Kingdom." Asshole. Are you kidding me? It's just a pirate. We are the army of evil, Germa 66. Bang bang. Bang bang. A soldier named Germa. Among them, there are a large number of Germa clones who are not afraid of death. They all held their guns and rushed towards Wilhelm furiously. Fired right away. Stupid, don't fire yourself. Vince K. Judge's complexion changed drastically. But it was obviously too late to stop it, because, in the blink of an eye, he only felt a blur in front of his eyes. Countless figures appeared directly above the sea. All of them were soldiers of Germa, falling towards the sea. Noisy. The incoming rain of bullets and shells. Also roaring across the distant sea. With an indifferent face, Wilhelm's 5 fingers on his right hand were claw-like, protruding out. Hawk, chirp. As the electric light flickered, the incomparably sharp nails directly tore through the atmosphere. One after another incomparably fiery substantive slashes appeared there. Accompanied by the stretching of Wilhelm's 5 fingers, it suddenly pierced through, extending for several kilometers. Swept towards the fallen Germa soldiers. Shish. Ah. A Germa soldier screamed. Either be ruthlessly pierced through the body, or be ruthlessly dismembered. Blood dyed the whole sea red. In just a blink of an eye, thousands of Germa's soldiers were all killed, and none of them survived. Above the warhouse, looking at this appalling scene, Vince K. Judge's pupils constricted sharply, cold sweat dripping down. And several of his children were also inexplicably shocked. Their eyes almost fell to the ground in shock. But there was only a 5 or 6-year-old girl with short pink hair and a 2-year-old boy with blonde hair who gushed out fear. The other 2 to 3-year-old boys with red, blue, and green hair were surprised, but had no other emotions. Hiss, Master Wilhelm is really amazing. Can you unleash such an astonishing slash without using a sword? No, his swordsmanship has already reached the pinnacle, and we are not in the same dimension. He regards his body as a sword. It can be said to be a no sword style, but it can also be said to be a rare 5 sword style or even 100,000 style. Because his 5 fingers with sharp nails are equivalent to 5 extremely sharp and indestructible blades. Brother Wilhelm's strength is getting more and more terrifying. Arc Proverbs above. Take a panoramic view of this bloody and terrifying scene. Yamato, Kuina, Hancock, Bacala, Armand, Mies Olib, Custard, and the others couldn't help being shocked. Because, just now Wilhelm's understatement hit. If it was transposed, it would be completely unstoppable for them to face each other. Previously, Wilhelm integrated his own sword skills into it, turning his 5 fingers into the 5 sharpest blades. It's just unbelievable. For a moment, my heart was surging and my heart was trembling. All eyes were blazing, and they looked at the impeccably perfect stalwart figure on the front of the warhouse with incomparable admiration. There is admiration, infatuation, fanaticism. Do you have any objections to my proposal just now? Vince K. Judge. Wilhelm's face was calm, and his extremely sharp gaze, which seemed to penetrate people's hearts, was staring straight at the supreme commander of Germa who was frozen there. The kind of pressure that makes people tremble and is extremely terrifying just by standing there. It was suffocating and I couldn't breathe. What a terrifying man. On the training ground in front of the castle, Reiju, who was only over 5 years old, had a pretty face full of shock, and couldn't help opening his mouth. All of them stared in shock at the stalwart figure who was so perfect but terrifying. This scene was deeply imprinted in the depths of her young heart. Bastard, move for me. The whole person froze there completely, unable to move because of fear. Holding a weird long gun, Vince Moke Judge was dripping with cold sweat, a little hysterical, roaring in his heart. But the face covered by the helmet was extremely terrified, and his eyes were full of fear. Facing Wilhelm's gaze sharper than that of a falcon, his body seemed to be uncontrollable, trembling there, a little shivering. Cold sweat had soaked his back. At this moment, he really understood. How terrifying is the thrilling nobleman, who was offered a reward of 3 billion Baileys by Marine. The number of people, in the face of such a monster, completely lost its meaning. The Germa clone soldiers he worked so hard to train. They were all killed in that instant. Thump. It seems that only a few seconds have passed. But in the eyes of Vince Moke Judge, it seems like months have passed. The king of the Germa kingdom, the supreme commander of the Germa 66 army, was pale, almost suffocating him. Unable to resist the terrible pressure any longer, his whole body was completely paralyzed to the ground. A stream of yellow urine flowed out directly from under his body. No one thought of it. It's just a blink of an eye. Vince Moke Judge, the supreme commander of the army of evil. Facing Wilhelm's terrifying power that made people tremble, he was so frightened that he went limp and pissed out. Asshole. Father. Who are you, damn? At this time, the son of Vince Moke Judge, those IJI, Niji, and Yuji who have been transformed by him with blood factors and erased redundant emotions, who don't know what fear is at all. Immediately furious, he glared at Wilhelm above the castle. Shouted there. But the next moment, Wilhelm's extremely cold eyes swept over. They seemed to be frozen there, and then they turned their eyes white, and they all fainted. Lost consciousness and fell there. Wilhelm, adult, big brother. Yamato, Hancock, Armand, Karstad and other women. They jumped from the ark to the warhouse of Germa 66. He rushed towards the training ground in front of the castle. Came here. He nodded towards Armand, Sneyman and other women. Wilhelm's silver-white figure flashed, and flew directly in front of Vince Moke Judge. Looking down at him indifferently, sitting there slumped, trembling all over, he was terrified. Very good, it seems that you have understood your situation. Hawkins Ain and Vegapunk, but I miss you, a colleague of the Mads team. What? Vince Moke Judge's pupils constricted sharply. Opening his mouth wide, he looked at Wilhelm in disbelief. Surprised, isn't it? Seemingly able to understand the inner thoughts of the other party, Wilhelm said with a sneer, Dr. Vegapunk and most of the members of the Mads team are no longer under the control of the world government, but in the scientific research base of the Big Mom Pirates. I advise you not to have any thoughts that you shouldn't have, at least before you have no strength to resist me, put yourself in the right place. He glanced at Vince Moke Judge, whose complexion changed rapidly, and said with a faint warning, if it weren't for you, whether it's Germa or Vince Moke's family, we would all be here today. Pianhai has been removed from the list. Even Vegapunk and the others. Vince Moke Judge, who was inexplicably shocked, stayed there and couldn't stop mumbling. A long time, he knelt down in front of Charlotte Wilhelm without a bone, and pleaded with his head, Big Mom Pirates. I am willing to work for you, I only hope you can spare my family. As long as you don't have any unreasonable thoughts, you can guarantee that your family members will have a good life, even your wife Sola. Wilhelm looked at Vince Moke Judge. He reached out with his right hand, and a frail figure was transferred out of the ward by him. Sola, who was pale and unable to move, was shocked and inexplicably looking at her husband who was kneeling there, and there were still water stains under his body, and he was emitting a foul smell. She couldn't help but widen her eyes, a little in disbelief. Judge. Sola. Mother, not only Vince Moke Judge's complexion changed. And his 5-year-old daughter Reiju and 2-year-old son Sanji all cried out there. The two children who retained their emotions and hadn't been targeted by Wilhelm's conquerors before, and hadn't passed out, couldn't bear it any longer, and rushed up ignoring the fear in their hearts. However, in their shocked eyes, an incomparably holy radiance shrouded Sola in Wilhelm's hand. She was originally weak, but her complexion returned to rosy at a speed visible to the naked eye. Before Reiju and Sanji ran over, he had already thrown Vince Moke Judge. Vince Moke Judge hurriedly hugged Sola. He was a little anxious, hurriedly asked loudly, Sola, are you all right? And Reiju, Sanji and the others hurriedly came to Vince Moke Judge, looking at Sola with concern. Judge, and Reiju, Sanji, I'm fine. The complexion returned to rosy, and Sola, who was full of inconceivability, struggled to get up from Vince Moke Judge's arms, and stood up abruptly. Also, I can already walk. I found that my body had recovered, and my condition was better than ever. And unexpectedly able to recover the ability to act like before, Sora was a little overjoyed. 3 years ago, she was pregnant. Ever since she learned that her husband, Windmill, wanted to use blood factors to transform her own body in the name of restoring Germa 66's former glory for her own ambitions. Unborn children even have to erase their emotions, turning them into war machines that only know how to obey orders. In order to prevent it, Sola did not hesitate to take banned drugs to resist her husband's blood factor modification. However, due to the side effects of the drug, the body was seriously damaged. Even after giving birth to the child, he could no longer walk. Sora, whose health is getting worse day by day, is aware of his state and will die soon. She never thought that there would be a day when she could recover. Seeing that Sola recovered, Windmill widened his eyes and trembled with excitement. What? Although in his eyes, no lover, no children can compare to his own ambition. But it doesn't mean that he really doesn't care about his wife at all. All along, it was because of seeing his wife Sola getting worse and worse after giving birth. In his anger, he became more and more disgusted and repelled by the failure of reformation due to banned drugs. Not only did he have rich emotions, but he also showed no superhuman performance at all. He was recognized by him as just the third son of an ordinary person. Windmill, who is selfish and unconscious, obviously does not reflect on himself. Instead, he subconsciously blamed all the hatred and responsibility on the son who failed in reform. Great, mother, you finally recovered. 2-year-old Sanji, holding his mother there, cried with joy. I used the power of Paramecia healing fruit to heal you. You are already able to walk freely, but due to taking banned drugs, your body functions have been severely damaged. Although you have recovered, your lifespan has been shortened by at least 20 years. Wilhelm said lightly. However, thinking about it, this is already the best result for you who are destined to not live for 2 or 3 years. Thank you, Master Wilhelm, very much appreciated. Windmill's inner joy was swept away in an instant. He lost everything in a blink of an eye, and all his ambitions and dreams were ruthlessly shattered. Looking at the figure in front of him that made him tremble and fear, he gritted his teeth and bowed to thank him. To treat my own people, I can indeed treat them generously and kindly. I can give back this Germa 66 warhouse to your Windmill family. Wilhelm stared straight at Windmill, his sharp and indifferent gaze made his heart tremble. But remember one thing, Windmill. The so-called dream refers to the powerful. Only people are qualified to talk about reality. Back then, the kingdom of Germa ruled North Blue by force for just 66 days, but it was destroyed by the behemoth world government in a blink of an eye. Now it doesn't even have a real country. Your ambition to rule North Blue in vain is nothing but self-deception. It's nothing but bubbles. From today onwards, neither Germa nor you belong to yourselves anymore. Listen, I won't give you a second chance. Once you miss it, the Windmill family will be removed from this sea. Life and death, prosperity and decline, all between your thoughts. Kingdom of Germa. On the warhouse composed of a large number of huge Kai-Katsuyu battleships. In the gorgeous castle, in the magnificent hall, Armand, Bacala, Hancock, Sneyman, Karstad and other women all sat there. And Wilhelm crossed his legs, sit on the middle sofa. And Windmill, the king of Germa, stood in front of Wilhelm somewhat submissively after setting up his wife and children. Inside, full of complexity, anger, unwillingness, fear, awe, gratitude. Now he is completely frightened, no matter what you think in your heart. But at least on the bright side, he didn't dare to show any unwillingness. Because he thought it was a secret that few people in Germa Kingdom knew. This terrifying man was able to speak like a few treasures. He is in front of the big mom pirates. There are no secrets or bargaining chips at all. Sort out all relevant technical materials including bloodline factor modification, Germa battlesuit, clone technology, etc., including High Katsuyu's breeding technology, and rush to the Toto Land Sea area by yourself. I will arrange personnel to pick you up to the research base of the mom pirates. Windmill was heartbroken. These technologies are all the crystallization of the Germa kingdom over the years, and they are what he originally wanted to use to restore the glory of Germa 66 and rule North Blue again, but now he wants to dedicate them all to others. But he didn't dare to show any resistance on his face. He nodded and said, "Yes, Master Wilhelm, I am willing to dedicate all my technology to the big mom pirates." In the underground experimental base of the Germa kingdom, there should be a lot of replicant soldiers that have already been produced and can be replenished at any time. I believe that with them as supplements, the horses will soon recover. Wilhelm, who was leaning on the sofa, crossed his fingers, looked at Vince MoK Judge in front of him, and said lightly, "Judge, you are a smart person, you should know what to do is the right choice. Under the banner of the Big Mom Pirates, even if you don't need to fight here and there as a mercenary, relying on Germa's technological power, you can easily create a lot of considerable wealth, and your wife and children can still live a high-class life with no worries about food and clothing. It's all up to you." "I understand, Lord Wilhelm, thank you very much." Vince MoK Judge, with a serious face, shot there and said. The strength that Wilhelm showed before, and the suffocating sense of oppression. Just as this man stood there, his body couldn't help trembling, and he gave up resistance uncontrollably. It made Vince MoK Judge completely terrified, knowing how big the power gap between him and the top of the world was, and knowing how naive he was. That is as strong as a monster, a power that makes people frightened. It's not something that can be surpassed by the modification of bloodline factors. The honor and disgrace of the entire Vince MoK family are all in the thought of this trembling nobleman in front of him. No matter how unwilling he was, in the face of absolute power, he could only bite the bullet and submit. The supreme commander of Germa, the helm of the Vince MoK family, is naturally not a brainless idiot, let alone being unable to see the current situation clearly. In the face of the huge irresistible tide, if you don't want the ship to be destroyed, the only choice is to drift with the tide. Although the Kingdom of Germa is one of the member countries of the world government, it is even eligible to participate in the World Summit above Marie Joyce, where 50 kings of the world government member countries come to Song every 4 years. But obviously, the Big Mom Pirates don't care about world government at all. And the world government will not once again attack the Big Mom Pirates at any cost for the Germa Kingdom, which does not even have a country. Although you must submit to others and work for the Big Mom Pirates. But as long as the Big Mom Pirates don't directly take Germa's warhouse, the last wealth of the Vince MoK family, everything is fine. With the huge amount of wealth he earned from hunting all these years, as well as the technological background accumulated from generation to generation in the Germa Kingdom, it is indeed enough for Sola and the others to live a high-class life without worrying about food and clothing. As for the future, unless the Big Mom Pirate Group declines. Otherwise, Vince MoK Judge doesn't see any chance of getting rid of the Big Mom Pirates. As one of the member countries of the world government and the king of the Germa Kingdom, which is a powerful North Blue country, he knows the strength of the Big Mom Pirates far more deeply than anyone else. That is even the naval headquarters, who is the overlord of the sea, at any cost, mobilized an expedition fleet composed of more than 50,000 elites from the Grand Line. And led by Admiral of Headquarters Buddha Sengoku, there are 10 naval headquarters vice admirals including 3 admiral candidates, and there are countless generals and officers. This kind of power should have been able to directly crush any power in this sea without any suspense. In the end, they were all easily defeated by the Big Mom Pirates, and the expedition fleet was almost wiped out. Even Sengoku, the only admiral of headquarters Buddha who was struggling to support the marine situation, was sacrificed. But what really made Vince MoK Judge a little scared? After the ancestors of the Germa Kingdom ruled North Blue by force. Even if the world government sent an admiral of headquarters to lead the fleet, the scale was even far smaller than the expedition fleet not long ago, and it had already easily defeated and destroyed the military power of the Germa Kingdom. Germa not only permanently lost his own land, but also almost removed Vince MoK's family from this sea, and the dream of just 66 days was shattered. Swipe. In the hall, a thin pink figure appeared. Father. Reiju, who was only 5 years old and carved in pink and jade, felt a blur in front of his eyes. He inexplicably left Mother's side and appeared in the hall, looking at Wilhelm and others timidly, a little apprehensive. Reiju. Judge looked at the daughter who suddenly appeared, a little surprised. Master Wilhelm. Is your name Reiju? Don't be afraid. Wilhelm touched Reiju's little head, comforted the little girl who was a little scared, and said with a light smile, from now on, follow me. His calm eyes looked towards Vince MoK Judge. Do you have any comments? As for the siblings of Vince MoK's family, the only ones who could attract his attention were this girl and Vince MoK Sanji. As for that kid Sanji, as the most successful genetically modified person so far, he undoubtedly has extremely high research value. After waiting until Germa New World, let Dr. Hawkins and Dr. Vegapunk, etc. conduct comprehensive research and analysis. By the way, let Shaoran sort out and revise the memory in the kid's mind. If that can't correct his overly kind heart, I can only give up begging. Anyway, as long as you get all the data on Sanji. believe in the scientific researchability of Dr. Vegapunk and Dr. Hawkins. At that time, it is absolutely possible to cultivate a genetically modified human who is more successful than him. Maybe it could be possible to make Charlotte Linlin a Superman with a monstrosity from the start, rather than needing to grow up bit by bit. No, no. The incomparably cold, sharp eyes that seemed to look straight into the soul made Vince Moquet Judge shudder. With cold sweat on her head, she hurriedly shook her head and said, "It's her blessing to be able to follow Mrs. Wilhelm."